good, ladies and gentlemen? Aquilon here, and as always, I am joined by the wonderful Rurikon, and now, finally, the man, the myth, the legend, Sebi Webbs. How you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Oh, I can't complain.
I have 18 inches of mesmer right here. Okay?
Holy crap.
18
Nice.
all 18 inches of him right here, right on the opening.
Dude, that is cool. Holy crap. But
Yeah.
I would apologize to all of you, but you guys don't know that we're late. We're late because Rurikon had to fix his hair.
Wait. Oh my god, bro! We're really gonna go back into the hair conversation, dude? Like, I'm sitting over here. We finally get Sebi's cam working, and Sebi's like, "Oh, all of this. What am I gonna do with all of this hair? It's like all over the place." And I'm sitting over here, bro.
Didn't even think about
look
it.
at this. Bro, look at this. What is this? It's like a
I didn't
friggin'.
think about that.
It's a landing strip for mosquitoes, bro.
No, we're late because everyone had shit that they had to quickly just get up and done. But we're here now. If I look tired to you, it's because I still haven't had coffee. Because I went downstairs, wanted to make coffee, opened the fridge, and realized I have no milk. So, and I didn't have time to go buy milk because I had to do the podcast. So, you guys need to know how serious I take this. I gave up coffee for you. All right. With that being said, this is episode 2 of Mythic Banter. I will
Did you forget
eventually.
the name of our show already?
Yeah, every single time. I'll eventually remember it. Like by episode 100, I'm going to have the name down to a T.
Okay.
Right? But yeah, up until then. But okay, so tell me about your weeks, guys. Sebi, you're on holiday. How's the holiday treating you, bro?
Man, it is impossible to get out of like content creator work mode. Like I'm technically on holiday, but like every day I get unhappy until I start like editing video or making images or start managing the new YouTube channel. I think probably the only time I had a relaxation was when a friend of mine hosted some Tekken 7 tournament like 2 days ago or like yesterday. And I could unplug on that. Otherwise, yeah, it's just a lot of food, a lot of anime, not being productive. Oh, I actually went for a walk. I thought like, oh my God, have I slipped a disc or something in my spine? It's like, no, I've just been sitting in a chair and going to bed for like weeks straight and not walking out of my house. It's like, amazingly, it feels better when you go for like a 2-hour walk. But so no, I'm all right. All
right. Rurikon, how's your week?
My week has been Elden Ring, frantically editing episodes of Elden Ring and then, trying to make content around Elden Ring, which has been very challenging because a lot of, just random stuff keeps happening in real life that interrupts me. To give you guys an idea, my last Elden Ring stream, I'm streaming the game. I'm like, because I finally did my first playthrough and this whole series is over. Now I can just like live stream the game and have fun. I'm live streaming, finally getting to enjoy the game with my audience and all of this stuff, having a good time. Suddenly, I see my daughter come into the studio. She comes in, she's crying, and I'm just like, what's going on? She's like, oh, Grandma hurt herself. She's bleeding. And I was like, what crap? So in my mind, I'm thinking she probably scratched herself. She's got like a little bit of blood. It's whatever. But I'm like, okay, guys, give me just a minute. I'll be right back. So I leave the stream. I go upstairs, and I see my mother, and I look at her legs, and I'm like, everything seems fine. And then she turns one of her shins, and it's got like a little gash on it. And I'm just thinking, okay, so it's got a little bit of a scratch. It's bleeding a little bit. Okay, let's have a look at that. And so I just tell her, okay, so pull open the wound just a little bit for me. She's got a big fucking gaping hole in there. It's like she stabbed herself with a stick or something. Like not stabbed herself, but like she got her shin caught up in like this stick. And there's just like a massive gaping wound on there. And she's doing the classic old person thing of, it's fine. I'm just going to disinfect it. It'll be fine. I was like, no, Mom. No, it's not fine. We have to go to the hospital right now. She had to get 7 stitches, bro. 7 friggin' stitches. And she was like, no, this will just heal by itself. It'll be fine.
I do that. As soon as something goes wrong, I just go, nah, it'll sort itself out.
Just rub some dirt on it.
Yeah,
you know, the old
just
thing.
live your life.
Just ice it, walk it off. It'll be fine.
But on the
It'll be
whole,
fine.
like Sebi, your thing, I think oftentimes people, I'm not gonna sit here and pretend, right, that streaming is as bad as like fucking working in a mine or some shit like that, because it
bro.
fucking isn't, right?
I'm sorry. It is like, no, it absolutely, dude. What I do, you don't it's so hard, bro. It mentally drains me more than retail work. Okay. That's what you need to understand. These friggin' people working retail are casuals, as Hassan would say. Like, look, bro, I can finish retail work and go go hang out at a party. It's not even a problem. But streaming, bro, I would rather do manual labor.
Yeah,
no, I'm obviously memeing on.
The thing is, I've done manual labor. Like, I have jackhammered a concrete floor in the blistering sun for like 11 hours straight.
Ooh,
and
the Australian blistering sun.
Oh
Jesus.
yeah. And it's I've done demolition, man. Like, it's definitely hard
Demolition
in a
sounds
totally
fun,
different
though.
way. Bro, when you destroy an office, when you get paid to do that, it's like, I can't believe I'm getting paid to do this. It's great. Just like pulling the drawers out, putting a crowbar, smashing all the sides of the drawers out.
Oh, man.
Oh god.
That's
Taking the
life.
tables apart. It's like, man, the people who worked here would probably do this for free. This is not
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like Office Space when they take out the friggin' printer and they just take it out to the middle of a grass field, just start beating on it with baseball bats.
No, it's like that for some jobs, but
yeah.
that's like physically hard on you. But at the end of it, the more hours you work, the more you get paid, and so on. You can go home and relax. Whereas like content creation, there are streamers who think that it's sort of the same. The more you stream, the bigger you grow and the more money you make, and that's just not the case at all.
No,
it's purely down to like what value do you provide? You have to figure out what content can I make that is, 1, original, 2, high quality, and 3, something that other people might actually want to see.
Yeah.
And you check all those 3 boxes, that's your best content, but that's not what a lot of people do. So it's I don't know. It's working in a totally different way, and it's impossible to unplug from.
Yeah,
but the work is its own reward.
That's the
Sorry
thing,
for yapping there,
right?
but,
No. But that is the thing. That's the point that I'm also trying to make here, is the bad side of content creation. And I think every content creator experiences this, is the inability to unplug. The absolute inability. Like, it doesn't matter what happens, you can't relax. And I think it's because your work is so tied to your hobby. Because remember, we all got into this because we love video games, right?
Because of gaming,
Yeah. But now gaming has become your job. So if you're just sitting there playing a video game, the thing that comes to mind constantly is, I could be streaming this. I should be streaming this. Why am I not just streaming this?
Yes, but it also depends on the game. Like, I've never streamed Diablo 4 because I know that it's just boring as hell to watch, unless you're someone like Quinn69, which is a rarity. You know what I mean? But it's an incredible game to play and a devastatingly boring game to watch. Same with like leveling. Yeah, sorry,
go ahead.
You go on. Well, same with like, say, leveling in World of Warcraft Season Discovery.
Yeah.
So fun to do.
Yeah.
Crushingly painful to watch. That's why the only times I ever streamed World of Warcraft were once we were already max level and we just ran around killing lobies for like 8 hours straight. Still great times, mate. Not great times for everyone else, but we were having fun. So.
I was just gonna say that my launch stream of Diablo 4 was legendary. I have no idea what you're talking about. Me trying to log into the PlayStation servers and nothing working, and then people coming into my chat and telling me like, "Oh, if you buy a microtransaction at the store, it actually works," and it did. It did work.
Man.
Isn't there like? Wait, it did.
It did.
Shameless.
Scumbag.
Here's Here's the thing. It was not. It was
Shocker.
not because of. It was not because of microtransaction. The reason was there something happened with servers getting overloaded or whatever it was. So buying literally anything on the PlayStation Store would have worked, but not even just buying, but
okay.
like say downloading a demo of something that you never downloaded before because it activates something in the servers and whatnot, and that would like
Okay.
refresh it and get it to work.
Yeah.
But I had people, and when that happened in Diablo 4, I had people jump into my stream and everybody was saying like, no, dude, it works fine. Just buy a microtransaction. I was like, bro, I paid €100 for this game, and you're telling me to go buy a Listen to yourself.
And
like,
not just anyone. You got to buy the one that costs the price of StarCraft 2. What is that one? It's like a mount or something, like $70 US.
Yeah. The mount was $70 fucking US, man. It's like what?
That's great.
Oh
That's
man.
Right. Oh.
It was just funny to see the way that people were super comfortable about like coming in and being like, works fine for me. I just bought this one microtransaction. I was like, bro, you guys really just don't care about the future of gaming.
No.
Like, no, fuck it. Let me just throw money at this.
Wait, but that's wrong. That's wrong. They do care because they keep complaining, right? Everyone keeps complaining about the greed of the video game companies. Everyone keeps complaining about how bad the gaming industry has actually become. And yet, no one wants to take responsibility for that. Like, not a single gamer wants to go, well, if I stopped buying the bullshit that they keep pushing down my throat, then they'll stop making the bullshit and pushing it down my throat.
What about the League of Legends reaction to the $500 skin? You know, didn't they almost universally ban that character across the board? So anyone who did buy that skin couldn't even use it. I don't know anything about League of Legends. That's purely from watching some react.
So the League of Legends crowd has a very interesting way of dealing with Riot greed, right? So whenever Riot gets a little too greedy, what the player base does sort of just instinctively is they ban the champion that is attached to the greed. So it means that if you spent all of this money buying that skin, you can't even play the fucking champion because it's banned in every single game until Riot either changes their ways. Now, on this, I never even made a video on this because from my perspective, this is a very special skin tied to a very special moment in Riot's history, right? This was the celebration
I know nothing about this.
So Faker is one of the oldest. He's basically been around forever in League of Legends. He is the most winningest player that has ever existed in League of Legends. He has so many Worlds titles behind his name, so many MSI titles behind his name, so many local LCK titles behind his name. He is considered to be the Western GOAT. And so Riot just came up with the Hall of Legends, which is their Hall of Fame. And Faker is the first ever player to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And so this is where this epic skin comes from. Now, it is my understanding that part of the proceeds of the skin goes to T1, SKT T1, the team that he plays for, right? So it is sort of like it's a maybe once in a year, maybe once in 2 years, Riot haven't really been too clear on how they're inducting players into this Hall of Legends. But from my perspective, this is a big event. It's a celebration. It's a celebration of history. Yeah, all right. Make it obnoxiously expensive. I couldn't give two shits, right? Because you're not going to be able to do that. If you start inducting people every month into the Hall of Legends just so that you can sell a $500 skin, that's going to lose its value very, very quickly, right?
I don't.
There's multiple $500 skins, like just tons of separate ones. That's amazing. Look, at the end of the day, no one's forcing you to buy it.
True.
But it's fun. It's almost like a cheeky move. It's like, oh my god, they did it. Because I guess if even one person buys it, it's like, swish. I mean,
I mean, they don't give a shit, right?
But, oh my god.
I fundamentally disagree with that. I'm like, no, fuck you. There's no reason to ever make a $500 skin. I don't care if it's for a cheeky reason. I don't care. I don't care why they did it. Like, because if you sell one of those, oh, it was just a big joke. It's like, no, fuck off.
Mhm.
Like, you're just a greedy piece of shit. That's what they are. Like, as far as
Well,
I'm concerned, like no skin is worth $500. No,
It's not, and I don't buy skins. I'm not a skin connoisseur.
Yeah.
So I guess I just don't know. But I'm one of those dickheads who's like, oh yeah, advertising doesn't work on me, even though it definitely does. But
Well, it
yeah, no,
works on
I've never had any
everybody.
temptation. You'll never see me buying a $500 skin, or even like
no,
a.
I mean,
I don't know. I don't think I've
I
ever
think-
bought a skin, man. So
I
don't
think
know.
from my perspective,
But-
it's more a case of you stop it early before we get to like the more criminal stuff, right? Like not criminal
Yeah.
as in really law breaking, but like the seriously bad stuff. Because the problem with the gaming industry, and man, I've heard so many insiders in the gaming industry already talk about this. So none of the CEOs and the big dicks that work at these companies are game developers, right? They've never made games. They're all MBA graduates, business people. So from their perspective, anything they can do to make more money in gaming, they're going to do, right? 100%. So it's sort of like either you push back on it now and you stop this shit before it gets too bad, or you wait and eventually we do get to a place where, like, I can already tell you, I don't think $70 per game is the final price point of games.
Oh no. I mean, here's the thing. You say $70 because you mostly buy games on Steam, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason you say $70. Because like if you go to any of the consoles, you're instantly already paying $80.
Look at the cat. The cat's part of the
80,
podcast.
80 euros. Yeah.
He was scratching on my door. He wants to come in for a bit. So this is sorry to interrupt you, Rurikhan. This is Billy
No,
Webb's.
it's fine.
My chat
But,
calls him the real streamer. But yeah, sorry, you go on. He just wanted to be helpful for a bit.
But the whole thing is that in Europe, at least, if you're buying stuff on consoles,
All
you're
right.
already getting like a tax of 10 euro, give or take, on games. So that's already 80 euros. And every single company now wants to sell you on the ultimate editions with the early access. Like we talked about
Yeah.
last week, that Life is Strange is going to have 2 weeks of early access for the first 2 chapters if you buy the ultimate edition.
That bothers me. I don't like the
Yeah.
idea that I don't like pre-orders in general. I don't really get the point of them.
Mhm.
The one time I bought a deluxe edition on a game was Tekken 7 when it was brand new, and I will never make that mistake again. It was something like double the price of the base game, but I've been waiting for it for so long. I was like, fuck it, whatever they got, it's got to be good.
Yeah.
All it was gold skin default suits for every single character. That was it. And like, I don't know, some season pass or whatever new character was out, I got that. I'm like, mate, that was not worth double the price of the game. I will never, ever just blindly make this decision again. Fuck that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But yeah, it's just not for me. Paying for early access is weird, and that's kind of how long has that been around for? Because I've seen it pop up everywhere, but it's fairly recent, isn't it?
It is. So
it's not recent. It's been like a couple of years at least.
yeah. But if
They've
you
been
talk
doing that.
about early access, it used to be very rarely that games would have like an early access period
Yeah.
attached to things. And most of the time, the early access period would be on pre-orders just in general, right? So it didn't matter which version of the game you bought. If you bought the game early, you might get into it, like 3 days early, which has already then been a huge problem. But now it's no longer in any base game. If you pre-order the base game, yeah, you're a poor little fucking peasant. No one cares about you. You'll play with the peasants. You have to buy the more expensive version so you can play with the nobility, right? And you start 3 days early. And the problem is, here you go. I warned about this a year ago when we had the big controversy around this. And I said, watch how this will not just be 3 days. Because everyone's going, dude, it's just 3 days. You can wait 3 days. It's like a weekend. I'm like, bro, you don't seem to understand. If they can get away with doing pre-play early access a month, they will do it. And here you already have it. 2 weeks early access. That's a long-ass time
Well,
not be
we
able to
saw
play the
this
game,
issue
right?
with Diablo 4, right? Remember there was the world race to get to like level 100 or something first in hardcore, I think. If you got early access, sorry, if you didn't get early access, you are not winning this.
Yeah,
You're
100%.
So,
yeah, you couldn't.
But wait, didn't one guy who won it, like there was a mistake and his name didn't even get on the statue? Which I feel sorry for the guy. I mean, he did the work. He did the work.
True.
But
I didn't even know.
Mate. Yeah,
I don't even know. That game was such a. And this is the other problem with the gaming industry. We'll wrap it up soon, but because we could be here for 4 hours talking about the problems of the gaming industry. But this is another problem with the gaming industry is we seem to have this new thing where games launch completely broken and then they just get fixed over the course of like a year. And then every gamer defends the fucking game for getting fixed over a year. And it's like, bro, what are you talking about? This game was shit at launch. They mulked the audience for everything they're worth because guess what didn't break ever in Diablo 4? The shop. The shop was always perfect, right?
And it had a dark pattern.
It kept pushing shit. It kept pushing shit. And now after a year, the game is good again and everyone forgets the last year of hell with this game. That is not the gaming industry that we should be celebrating. That's not the kind of behavior that we should be rewarding.
I think in very rare circumstances, you get a game like, say, No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk, which had disastrous launches, but through the developers just being like, all right, fuck it. Sorry, boys, we're fixing this. And to my knowledge, they fixed it and earned back trust and respect from the gaming communities. But like, it does seem that we're in this weird time period. Those are exceptions. It seems that we're in this weird time period where the most loyal customers, the ones who buy and play the game on day one, are playing the worst version of the game. And it's just, it feels unfair. Like I found this with Final Fantasy 16, right? Everyone who played it and finished it in the first month had horrible motion blur that they could not turn off. And only a month after it came out, did they add a toggle to remove the motion blur entirely, which everyone fucking like was like, oh my God, it looks so much better now. But I remember during that time period, believe me, I had a whinge about that when I was streaming it. But people would make excuses for this, saying they couldn't tell the difference, saying it's not that bad. That's fine if it's not that bad to you. That's fine if you can't tell the difference. But many people can, and people have been complaining about motion blur in not being able to turn that off in console games for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. They even gave us the option to remove it a month later. The problem's been that bad for that
It's
long.
like fucking
so long story short, the loyal customers are playing the worst version.
But then you have
paying
Bethesda
the most
games.
to play the worst.
You have Bethesda games, for example, which continually launches with no field of view slider. Just no field of view. Go fuck yourself. It's like, bro, what are you talking about? No field of view. This is like the most basic shit in the world.
Yeah.
Listen, the field of view thing to me, in some ways, it's weird because I understand that like for some people the whole field of view is the weird portion of it is why don't developers just like have that on by default? I'm sure it's a setting that you can do in your engine. Just have that on by default. Just have it right from the get-go. Game comes out, put an FOV slider on it.
Oh yeah,
boom,
but
done. Problem solved. But the other
it's
thing
not
is,
even a setting in your engine. Just FYI, it's not that the engine can't do it. Just want to be clear. When Fallout 76 launched, you could literally make a notepad. You opened Notepad. You wrote FOV value equals, and you just imported that notepad into the game any files. And it would immediately field of view it to what you needed it to be.
What you need to understand is that a lot of times when you mess around with the field of view too much, it can break things because of the way in which the artists and the designers develop the world to be seen a certain way. And you give it too much FOV and you get like the fisheye effect. And sometimes that will also allow you to like, oh, if I, angle my camera this way, I can see through this wall, and stuff like that can break the game. So that's what I'm saying. So not every engine is going to just innately support you to do, oh, let me just go in and change the FOV settings. Certain things are going to break. But the other thing that I will also say is that I feel like in some situations, that complaint is a little bit exaggerated. Just a little bit. Okay,
Um,
I get it. Yeah. Oh man, it'd be great if I could have more FOV, but a lot of times people are like, "This is literally unplayable," and I was like, "Okay, I don't
So
think it's literally unplayable. I think maybe it's not the most comfortable experience if you happen to suffer from the stuff because I know that some people they get like claustrophobic about the FOV
no,
stuff. And
no.
whatnot.
It's not. So I'm one of those people that will say it's literally unplayable, and the reason it's literally unplayable for me, if I play a game at 70 FOV, I can play for about half an hour, and then I want to throw up. Like I genuinely have a headache. I want to throw up. I have motion sickness. That's the problem,
You better
right?
you
It
better never
triggers.
put on a VR headset, bro. You
No,
better
no, no.
never do it.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't. But for all the
You
whole
die.
different
VR
set of
rules,
reasons,
man.
I
Such
think
a gimmick, but
I think
it's
VR.
nothing else like it. Sorry, go on.
I think VR is the most gimmicky piece of shit thing ever fucking invented. So I will never have a VR headset. But for the
It's
fact,
worth having a
wrong.
brief conversation about it, but
Yeah.
we
All
should
right,
finish this point
all
first.
right, all right.
Sorry.
Sell
Yeah.
me on it, Sebi. Sell me.
Sell you on it?
Why? Yeah, sell me on VR.
VR, okay, so if you're a fan of horror, for example, VR is the scariest horror experience you can possibly have, like, ever. Because
Yeah.
for a number of reasons. Like, let's say you're watching a horror on, like, a movie screen or, like, your
Mhm.
TV. Well, if you look to the left, to the right, up, down, or behind you, you're not looking at the scary thing anymore. You're safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is not the case in VR. You're still in it, no matter where you look.
Yeah.
Second of all, the screen is several feet away from your face. Like, even if it's your computer screen, it's like 2.5 feet away from your eyes. In VR, it's there. And your brain does get tricked, even though intellectually you know it's not real. Your brain will just get tricked by being in it long enough, and shit comes that close to you, you feel it. Even crap horror games
Yeah, I
are
wouldn't.
fucking terrifying in VR.
I
Nothing.
hate
All
horror
other horror
games.
is weak after you do that.
So
I
let me
hate horror
outside of
games.
that- Outside of that, I agree with you that it's a gimmick, or not a gimmick, but it has difficulty competing with PC gaming because I can just turn on the PC, sit back like a lazy bastard, and just tap away at my
Yeah.
keyboard
Yeah.
and mouse and play.
The
I don't
setup.
have to like plug the thing in, put the thing on, clean the thing, clean the lens, and then
Yeah.
make sure all the things are set up, and then make sure I'm not knocking over shit. You know what I mean? There's so many
Yeah.
extra
Yeah.
steps involved in the setting up and the putting away of VR
Yeah.
that eventually all those steps get tedious, and everyone stops using it after 3 months, 6 months tops.
Yeah,
That's how I
so-
felt. But when I first
so-
got it, it was the best thing ever. It's so good. Yeah.
So it's like
So-
when it comes to VR, the thing is there's a lot of good things about VR, but
Yeah.
there's also a lot of developers that just don't get it. So like for instance, I got sent the PSVR 2 the PlayStation guys at Portugal. They were like, "Hey, you want us to send you a review unit?" And I was like, "Sure." I wasn't sure, I'll review it. And so like they send me the stuff and I try it out and I'm just like, okay, so there's a couple of interesting games or whatnot. And let me just tell you, the best game to play on PSVR 2, as far as I'm concerned, No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky
Mm.
in
Can imagine.
VR,
Yeah.
that is the game.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
The problem is all of the other games, and here's the thing: nobody even mentioned to me No Man's Sky because when that headset came out, I don't think No Man's Sky even had the update to support PSVR 2, so it wasn't even available at the time. But like they asked me, "Hey, can we tell all these developers to like send you games to they wanted to forward my contact to a bunch of people so that they could send me games to test out." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And so I tried a bunch of the games. And those games don't sell anybody on VR. That's the problem. And that was the thing, because I was like, I was given this very much last notice. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a stream and I'm going to show it. And the hardware for PSVR 2, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of like price to quality, I think it's probably the best one. Because you have the Index, which is like over $1,000 or whatever it is.
Index
and it's
doesn't
got,
even
like,
ship to Australia. Last time I checked.
it probably doesn't even ship to Portugal either. But you have
No,
the
it
Index,
don't.
which is super expensive. You have the Oculus, which I don't know how the Oculus is nowadays. It's been a long time since I've last checked that out. And then you had the PSVR 1, which was atrocious to set up because you had like this little box that then connected to Is that the one that you have?
Yeah. Now, look, the way I could accept it is in my mind, I'm like, this is like if you made VR in the 90s and it worked.
Yeah.
That's how my brain was able to accept it. But I
Like,
mean,
I
look,
had-
and
I
then
had
look,
some
after
fun.
3 months, I was like, all right, it's too out. I'm
Yeah.
done with this. But I had
I
a
had
lot of
some fun
about
with
it.
the
I love that
PSVR
thing.
one. There was some cool stuff with it. But the
Yeah.
thing was, right, so I'm making this stream and I'm showing off the hardware, and I'm like, hardware wise, I think it's great because the way that you set up the PSVR 2, it's literally just a USB-C cable that plugs
Mm.
directly to the console. That's it. That's all the setup.
That's
You
great.
put on the headset
Yeah.
and a USB-C
Yeah.
cable, and you are done. Then the only thing you
Mm.
got to do is, like, for calibration and whatnot. For starters, there's a mode. So, like, how with the VR1, you can't see anything that's around you. You're going to knock stuff over, like you're saying. With the VR2, you could like tap a button and it will just show you your surroundings. It's in black and white because it's not the best of camera, but you can see
Okay.
everything around you.
Yeah.
And it's like you're fine. You're not going to hit stuff and whatnot. So you're going to sit comfortably, and then you just turn that off and you go back into the game. And whenever you need to do anything, you turn that back on, and like you can see everything around you. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's really cool. So that's a really cool feature, right? And so you have all of these really cool things from the hardware standpoint. And then I go through all of the games, and not a lot of them are great. So like there was this kayak game, which is, oh man, super hyper realistic graphics, but I'm kayaking. I'd rather do this in real life.
True.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well-
I was even saying maybe if I'm like a quadriplegic and I can't do kayak in real life, then yeah, sure, I guess I can do it on VR, and that's cool. But like, that's a very niche audience that you're targeting. A majority of people, I feel like, wouldn't you rather just do this in real life? Wouldn't that be cooler than
We're
doing it in
gamers.
VR?
We don't get out of the house.
Yeah, no.
Like, is that a trick question? No, but like,
No.
I think an issue with many VR games is, and this is what I found, is many of them are fun for like one sitting. Many of them are tech demos that excel at one thing. Now, in my personal opinion, I think Super Hot was my favorite game out of them all. Which, for those of you who don't know,
I've never tried that, but I was always like, man, that one's good.
Fucking rules. Like, imagine this. Imagine you are Neo in the Matrix, and like agents are running towards you, or Polygon agents.
Yeah.
And that. They're trying to kill you, fight you, shoot you, whatever. But they only move when you move.
Yeah,
so if you stand
know
still,
what the
they stand
concept
still,
is.
which means they can spray bullets at you, and you can just be like, like dodging the ball and like bang, dude. For me, who loves the Matrix, I was like, this is the best game ever made. But you can do it in maybe one or two settings.
Yeah.
Arkham Knight, the Batman game, 10 out of 10, but you'll finish it in 30 minutes. So
yeah,
that's my point.
like,
they're great for their tech demos. So,
Yeah.
2013, I got to interview Palmer Luckey. You know who Palmer Luckey is?
No.
No, I'm a
He's
noob.
the guy who invented Oculus. He's the guy who kind of like brought VR to the forefront. But at the time, Oculus was like super small. It was like this super tiny little corner, in the Gamescom show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm there and I'm interviewing Palmer Luckey. And even back then, I asked him, okay, so what's the coolest VR game you guys have played? And both of the dudes that were there, super hot.
They said super hot.
They said super hot.
It is, in my opinion, the best like VR game. Whereas I think Batman Arkham Knight is probably the best demonstration of what it's a phenomenal demonstration of what it's capable of.
Yeah.
It's just that it's hard to write a story and a game like that that's as thrilling for longer than 30 minutes.
But like,
and it's a brilliant little short story, but that's it. Yeah.
I just wanted to like wrap this up with a neat bow tie. Kind of like, I would argue, and both of you, if you've seen any marketing material for the PSVR 2, which game would you say is like supposedly being presented as the killer app?
I don't know. I don't know anything
idea.
about it.
Okay, you guys didn't pay that much attention, because anybody who paid attention would have known it's like the Horizon game. They made this VR Horizon game called Call of the Mountain. Right?
That will probably be the one then. I mean, is it more gameplay based and less story focused? Because
see, that's the thing. That game is it's, to me, it felt almost kind of like a carnival ride. You're like, because you start the game, you're on the VR one. You start the game, you're on a boat and you're looking around, and there's like the robot monsters going.
It's like a roller coaster,
super
like an amusement park ride.
Yeah, and I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And then eventually, when you get to the gameplay portion of it, you can move around and do stuff. But I played it for I don't know. I was trying to give like 15 to 20 minutes to each of the games so that I could show off all the games that I was sent in one live stream.
Mm.
and 90% of the Horizon stream was just me doing this. I was like, I was climbing up and climbing sideways, and I was like, bro, I get it, but like you could have your game not
me a
be
grappling
just
hook.
this. Like, come on, dude. And eventually there was a moment where I got to like fight a monster and I was shooting the bow and doing dodges. I was like, this is cool. But why is it that immediately after this, I'm back to this? Like, this was fun for about 3 minutes. And then it was just like boring. And I was like, oh, now I can climb this way. And now I can climb that way. And now I can do it like, and it's like, bro, this is not a video game anymore.
Yeah.
I would rather go climb an actual mountain at this point. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think it's fine to give you that option.
Climb an
There should be
actual
one where you just like point at a thing, shoot it, and you grappling hook up in one go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Just give us the option.
I think
no one likes tedious demo shit. You know?
But you see, I think
on,
the problem that VR has, and then we can move on if you guys want. But the problem that VR has, I think, is still technological for the most part, and it has a couple of issues that, from my understanding, is still very hard for them to fix. So Steam has found ways around that with their Half-Life games, because apparently the Half-Life games on VR are phenomenal. But
apparently Alex is nuts. Like,
isn't it just one Half-Life game? It's just Alex, right?
But they've done a couple of other VR, I think, tech demos and stuff from Steam, where, you know, so Steam is sort of hardcore into the VR, right? Because Gabe, good old Gabe, believes in AR, right? So they're spending a lot of money on AR technology, and they believe that they're close to getting AR to work, which is, I think, the next iteration of that technology. But it is my understanding that one of the key problems in VR is just simple movement. Like, literally just the art of moving. It causes a lot of motion sickness in people.
Oh, yeah.
It's very difficult to fucking do. So what Half-Life Alyx have done is they sort of have a teleport system. So you don't walk, you port forward.
You point at a... Yeah, and you just shoot forward there.
Yeah. Which is fine, but that does break the immersion a little bit, right?
It does.
Yeah. The
I
thing is,
like I don't get motion sickness, but a lot of people do. So
So
I can see.
I'm
It's like
excited for the technology, but I'm not sold on it, right? I would still, to this day, I refuse to use controllers because I consider it to be future tech from the demons. I will not use a controller.
Oh my god.
Mouse and keyboard.
You can play Elden Ring on a controller, mate. Mouse and keyboard.
No,
that's hard. That's hard, bro.
Mouse and keyboard, bro.
Listen. We'll get into it when we get to Elden Ring, because I need to tell you about fucking strong attacks, Echo.
We'll see whether the controller
attacks, Echo. Jesus Christ. But anyway, so it's like the thing about motion sickness is definitely the biggest problem. And let me tell you where the problem is from, because you haven't done it, Echo. So, and Sebi, apparently you don't suffer from motion sickness, so you probably don't even notice it.
For some reason, it doesn't get me, but I believe everyone else when they say it. Like,
I'll tell you exactly where the problem is. The problem isn't even movement, because just moving forward and backwards, for a majority of it, it's fine. It's a little bit disorienting, but that's not what causes it. What causes it is when you turn the camera. The moment that you like turn the camera slightly to one way, but there's no movement in real life, your brain just goes like, what the fuck just happened? I don't like that.
You mean so you're looking forward, but you look left or right in game? Because for me, that only happens when I literally look left and right in the ones that I play.
So like, imagine this, right? Imagine
that would be weird,
Imagine you're playing a shooter, right? You're playing a shooter, so if you look this way, everything's fine. But the problem is you have limited range of motion. You can't just go like,
you're playing,
right? You can't just look back. So you have to use some input to like turn your camera back. And when you turn the camera and there's no motion on your head, your brain goes all fucky. Your brain's just like, nah, bro, this don't work. This is not good. So that's where the problem comes in.
So it's basically what you're saying is it's a human limitation. The human brain has not caught up with technology
Yeah,
to
but-
understand how the technology
Mr.
operates.
Mr. Mechanicus over here. Mr. The weakness of our flesh is the issue, not the VR.
No, but here's the thing. So
True.
what they do is, and this is actually very accurate. They're calling it getting your VR legs, very much the same way, like, when you go on a ship for the first time, maybe you
Yeah.
get seasick or something like that. But then eventually after you go like 10, 20, 50 times, you're good. You get your sea legs. So it's the same thing with VR. So eventually, if you do it enough, your brain overcomes that and it's not a problem anymore. And you kind of like start acclimating it. The problem is very much like Sebi says, we'll play it for like 3 months. Then we put it away forever because these
Yeah.
companies are also very seasonal when it comes to their support of VR. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh no, we're quadrupling down on VR. This is going to be awesome. And then 2 months later, actually forget about all that. It's like,
Well,
never mind.
It kind
We're
of
over
But
it.
makes
for me, it's just like I can't be fucked to take it out of the box and just
Yeah,
set this
it's-
up
it's
and that
annoying.
up and check
but
this
I mean-
and that. And so it's too hard. It's
Yeah,
too hard. Just
but that is
the
part
less
of
steps, the simpler and better. it is.
yeah.
Sorry, go on.
But that's part of the problem, right? Is
yeah.
it's not a technology that stands on its own. It's a technology that requires other technology in order to operate. So you need a PC,
You need the games, yeah.
or you need a PlayStation, or you need an Xbox. Otherwise, it will not work on its own. If VR eventually gets to a place where
there
the
actually are
headset operates
there are
completely
headsets that
independent,
operate on their own. There are.
yeah, but how
some of the,
well?
some of the Quest ones, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah,
I don't know how well they are because like that shit is prohibitively expensive. Oh, let me go find out how good the Oculus Quest is.
Yeah,
Let me
go
just go
buy it.
it real
Go
quick.
buy it,
and
go buy
it'll be
Quest.
fun. Yeah, I'll just get on that. I'll figure it out real quick. No, so
Zuckerberg,
it's like,
Zuckerberg
obviously-
will thank you, obviously.
Yeah, he will
Um,
love that.
obviously.
But that's the thing. But like, so there's something that they've done in some games where I think it's a really smart idea. The problem is that as a content creator, those games are not as interesting to watch because of the things that you are doing to overcome the VR sickness. So for instance, I played the entirety of Resident Evil 7 in VR. The whole game.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's gonna be an
thing was
experience,
that
bro.
thing was bro. The first time dude comes up and he's like, "Welcome to the family." Bro. What the fuck?
Yeah.
It's crazy. And this was in the PSVR 1, which was not as good as, the VR 2 and whatnot. It was still super immersive. But what they're doing is, so instead of you having smooth turning, which is like, you turn your camera to turn smoothly, because that's what caused the motion sickness, they turn it an angle. So like you're looking like this, and then it goes like now like this, and now like this. So like it's 35-degree angles or something like that.
I don't know.
And so it's kind of like picture goes off, picture comes back on, and you're looking in a different direction, super
Yeah.
fast. And that one does not get you motion sick, and it works fine.
Yeah.
The problem is, as a viewer, it's really jarring every time that I'm turning the camera, and it's just like a slideshow of camera turning. It's so weird.
Yeah, and even without that, the viewer
The
cannot
viewer experience
experience
is not
it the way
great,
that
yeah.
you're experiencing it. For them, the screen
it's
is not
weird.
1 inch away from their eyes, the way,
No.
or like a centimeter away from their eyes, the way it is for you.
Yeah.
They just won't fit. VR is one thing you can't understand until you've done it.
But
You
And
just, you know, what I mean. You don't know until you've done
imagine when Twitch finally comes with the technology that you can watch the stream in
This-
VR, but
Twitch
in
is never
first
gonna do
person
that.
mode, right? So in
Listen,
first
bro,
person
That's
mode.
too hard.
Listen,
Yeah,
Twitch,
but
let me tell you
Imagine.
something. Twitch can't even figure out more than 6K bit rating, okay, bro? They can't figure out that technology. I remember there was 1 year where
Yeah.
Twitch tweets out like our New Year's resolution is 4K, and I was like, yeah, right. 4K at 6K bit rate,
Well-
my fucking foot.
well, it is coming. Very quick.
Sure.
No. So
Sure.
if you listen to Dan Clancy, man, what a name, for a CEO.
Yeah.
Dan Clancy, like that is such a CEO name. But Dan Clancy actually spoke about this, and he was asked straight up by Harris Haller.
So wait, Echo.
Yeah?
Sorry, I'm sorry. Like you're gonna take us on a tangent. Let me just wrap this up in a nice little bow tie.
All right.
Basically, best use case for VR games for anybody that's curious about that. Games where you're inside a cockpit because there's no motion.
Like Elite
Those are the
Dangerous
best-
Oh,
and
yeah.
No Man's Sky.
Elite Dangerous might literally be the best game ever for VR.
Billy.
He's
Okay.
biting you.
You naughty little
Yeah,
saucy
but
eyes.
like so in Elite
It's just his
Dangerous,
way
you're
of showing he
controlling
loves
yeah,
me.
you're controlling a
Down you go,
spaceship,
mate.
so you can like
Down you go.
look up and you can see like all of the different things through the cockpit of your ship. That is where VR is hands down at its best. And
Yeah.
also, the worst ever VR game that I've played was Drive Club. I played that thing for 20 minutes and I had to lie down for 2 hours where I was just trying to stop myself from
Hmm.
puking my guts out. My friends called it the vomit comet. Okay.
Oh,
That was
shit.
that game. But anyways, that's it. Let's wrap up VR.
Yeah,
Take
but
us
all
to
right,
down to
so
Twitch land.
n-
4K
yeah,
resolution.
Yeah, it's
Just-
old news
just-
at the end of
so-
the day. I'm sorry I went down that tangent.
no,
That's cool.
I mean, we can talk about whatever, right? But the Dan Clancy stuff is also pretty old, but just to catch everyone up, they are slowly but surely working on switching all of their servers to AV1. The problem is you're talking about incredible upfront costs, right? It
They're
costs
going
a
to
shit ton.
support AV1.
Yeah. They're working on AV1 technology. It's already there, right? I'm accepted into the streamer program that could stream in AV1. The problem is my graphics card doesn't do AV1. So, you know, and that's one of the reasons why they haven't really made this giant push towards it, is because it's not just them that has to upgrade their servers for AV1. It's also the streamers that have to upgrade to a 40 fucking series graphics card in order to do AV1 streaming. So it's sort of like
no.
a slow
You
process.
don't have to get a 40 series GPU. You can get an AMD.
Yeah, but I'm not getting an AMD. Like you're not pulling me towards that. I'm not.
Keep sucking on that Nvidia's green dick.
I will gobble that dick
sucking
down
on
all the fucking time, bro. I'm sorry.
Dude,
I refuse.
I can't stand people like you, Eklon, because you guys are always like, these GPUs are so expensive. Oh
Yeah.
my God, this industry's going to shit. Let me go ahead and buy I'll take a 4090 next. Thank you. $2,000. That's fine. Yes, sir. You want me to cradle the balls too? Oh, yes, I will cradle the balls. I was like, bro, get that. Like, I looked at that price and I said, fuck you. Fuck your green bullshit logo. Fuck your GPUs.
That's fine.
I'm getting an AMD.
That's
and this
fine,
is somebody who once
but
took
your
an NVIDIA
AMD isn't as
sponsorship,
good.
by the way.
But your AMD will not be as good as the Nvidia. I
What?
want
No, wait a
AMD to
minute.
compete.
Why is it not as good?
I want AMD
No,
to
tell me.
compete. I'm going
Tell me why is it not as good?
I'm going to explain it. I want
Okay.
AMD to compete. The problem is AMD doesn't compete. Not with Nvidia. Not on performance. It doesn't compete with the Nvidia. On content content creation side, it doesn't
Yes, it
compete with
does.
Nvidia. No, it doesn't.
It does. It does.
dude,
Right now
I
it
watch-
does. It didn't used to, but now it does.
I would be surprised if it actually manages to compete.
I can record AV1s. I can stream AV1. I can
Yeah.
do anything that you can do. Not anything. I can't do ray tracing. That's the one thing. That's the one thing I can't do. Dude, and let me tell you what, you can grab that ray tracing and shove it directly up your rectum. Okay, bro? I don't give a fuck. You're actually going to sacrifice the 10 frames a second to get ray tracing?
No.
Yeah, right.
I don't
Of
ever
course you're
play with
not.
ray tracing.
You're like, but I can.
I have it, right? I have it. You don't.
I mean, I
so
can turn it on too. No, I can use ray tracing. It's just it probably, instead of me losing 10 frames, I'll lose like 15. That's it, because you can do ray tracing as well. But it's like, that's the one thing that NVIDIA has right now. That and CUDA cores. CUDA cores are also really cool for rendering. But even that, it's not that much of an advantage.
I prefer my Nvidia stuff, but I will switch to AMD if they finally start beating Nvidia properly.
But like actually being a little bit serious now, right? You're saying I prefer my Nvidia stuff, but literally everything that you've told me, there's not an advantage in Nvidia on any of the topics that you've mentioned in current AMD technology. Not a single one. The thing is, you have the notion that NVIDIA is better, and like you, most people have the notion that NVIDIA is better, so they will drop that money.
No, but it's not just the notion. If you watch Tech Jesus, Gamers Nexus, he goes into this. The problem is that if you do talk about raw performance, the AMD is just not there. It doesn't perform as good as the NVIDIA 40 series. The 4080 and the 4090 is the 4090 specifically is just leaps and bounds above anything that AMD currently offers.
No, it is not. Like, listen,
Dude, we have the benchmarks for this.
I checked the benchmarks of like the 4090 against my what is it? The 79. It's not 7900.
7900 XT.
Is
You
it
have
the
you have the
7900
7900 XT, you have the
7800
7800.
XTX? Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's like the 4090 versus the 7900 XTX. It was like between 10 to 20% difference, and it was in areas where it's like this is if you're playing full 4K ray
but
tracing,
bro, like fuck.
super sampling, and it's like, motherfucker, what GPU do you have?
Dude, 20% is like
No,
an
no, no,
entire
no, no, no.
generational
No, wait,
shift
wait.
uplift.
No. Let me just. What GPU do you have?
3080.
You have a 30 fucking 80.
Yeah.
The 7900 XTX shits all over the 4080,
Yeah, I don't want it.
and it's cheaper.
It's fine. I don't want it. I'm gonna stick with NVIDIA. Team green all the way, baby.
That's what I'm saying. Not even like being about team this or team that, but that's the thing that I'm saying. Most people have that same mentality as you, and that is why it's never going to change.
So,
NVIDIA is always going to dominate the market because people aren't willing to take a chance on AMD. And I
all
understand,
seriousness,
you're talking about taking a chance on a $1,000 plus piece of hardware.
yeah.
And
but
to me,
I do want to
I was
say,
like, I can buy this for $2,000. Which is not at the time that I was looking at it. I don't even think it was the 4090 because I was trying to get a 4080, and I was like, so I can buy the second best NVIDIA GPU at the time was like $1,800 because again, people are like, oh, I can buy it a lot cheaper. Yeah, in America, motherfucker, I live in Portugal. Okay, the import fees and shit, like GPUs over here cost way more than they do in America. But so I'm like, I'm looking at the 4080. I'm like, you're talking about $1,800. For NVIDIA's second best GPU, or it was like at the time, I think 1,200 for the 7900 XT. And this is the best AMD GPU, which not only comparatively performs as the 4080, in a lot of situations, it actually outright beats it.
Yeah.
And in video recording, it is very much comparable. And I was like, bro, it's literally 600 euros cheaper. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I get you, and I'll switch the moment they have a 20% uplift over Nvidia. But all right, we'll move on because just to say, it's come down in price now in South Africa, but at the time of launch, the price difference between the 4090 and the 7900 XTX in South Africa was like a couple of $1,000, which is not even worth fucking mentioning. When you have the 4090 is 43,000 rand. Just to put that into context for people, you can buy a car for double that. So for 80,000, you can buy a literal car, right? So the NVIDIA fucking one is half a car, all right? And then you have the AMD one coming in at slightly cheaper, but still almost half a fucking car's price. So there was really no incentive. It has come down in price though recently. It's only 22,000 now, so it's not quite as bad, but it was terrible at the time of launch at least.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, in South Africa we have it's completely fucked, right? Because we have so many import fees. The government charges so much import tax on pretty much anything that isn't from South Africa. Even though we don't make our own graphics cards, so I don't know exactly what industry they're protecting with these import fees. But never mind that. That's a whole political discussion for a different podcast.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, it's a whole thing. I might look into switching at some point. I'll look into if things are fixed and what the new benchmarks are. So thank you for that. Are we going to talk?
What GPU do you have, Sebi?
I got a Ryzen 9 and a 3080 Ti.
Fucking
say goodbye, Billy. You're going.
Both of you just
Team green, baby.
Green.
Hey, it just
green.
works, mate. 16 times the detail, all right? So, it's fine. It's fine.
Wasn't aware that Todd Howard was the president.
Hey, it's 16 times the detail.
Quote. That is just such a great quote.
That quote,
like the best thing to throw
16
out there.
times the detail.
If there was such a thing as a game developer hall of quotes, right? Where all famous quotes of game developers is recorded there. That one would be the first to be inducted into it. Because never...
It's such a good quote.
Dude,
I love
but
it.
never has anyone said anything so fucking wrong that was proven so fucking wrong so quickly afterwards than that line. 16 times the detail. The game comes out, it looks worse than Skyrim.
And the "it just works" line, that was also proved wrong really
It just
fast.
works, and then it didn't work
It
at
just
all.
works.
Although it's pretty...
not really, Todd.
I must...
You've seen what I stream, man. Like, the most advanced thing is Elden Ring. Souls is like, I think it's one of the best game series in the world, but it's not competing for like the top tier graphics in the world. But it also shows good graphics doesn't equal good game. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Otherwise, like, what, I'm playing like Final Fantasy 9 or 10. You know, I don't need some SpaceX tech to run that stuff.
But see, that's the
remember,
thing.
I was a console Andy for like a long time. 60 frames is still amazing to me. It's like, I can't believe we can do this.
See, Sam,
that's my brain.
That makes me even more frustrated because, like, you're just saying, I don't even need that much graphical prowess, but I'm gonna buy the more expensive GPU regardless.
You see, Rurikon is out here. He doesn't want to be...
Are you talking about the 3080?
No.
I'm boomer here.
Yeah, the 3080. He's talking about 3080 because you see, Rurikon made the decision to go a team raid, right? And
I wanted to future-proof myself. That was why I didn't make
that. I didn't make a decision. I'm not Team Red. I want to make that perfectly clear. I am not Team Red. I am Team whatever is the best deal. And so I just look at the deals when I'm making a PC, and I was like, I want it to be NVIDIA because the CUDA cores are really good for rendering. So I'm like, I want an NVIDIA card. But then I look and I'm just like, the value isn't there.
Yeah.
Period. Like, that's it. Period. End of story.
May I make an observation on this? This sounds to me sort of like the console PC wars, which I think are also a bit of a mistake. We're all gamers. We're on the same side. You know what I mean? I think it's better. I think it's better if the game's on every platform. But when we're having graphics card wars, I think we're going a bit deep. Maybe I'm just a boomer about this, but I think we're really on the same side.
No. I would just like to.
Fucking NVIDIA Andes. They've had it too good for too long. Them and their fancy brand power, you know. But mate, as a Final Fantasy player, I am deep in the. I mean, like, I observe that is in the console exclusivity, the console versus PC wars, because Square is very console exclusive, which they have recently decided to give
anymore.
Up. But that's its own bit of news. Yeah. Interesting. Because as much as I can criticize Final Fantasy 16 and Rebirth, neither of those games had a fair shot in the market because of console exclusivity. Yeah. They are both in my opinion, deeply flawed products with some great strengths as well. But we'll never know how well they really should have sold.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the fact that 16 is still not out on PC, that's insane to me. That is nuts. And I remember with both 16 and bloody Rebirth, on their launch, there were people saying like, "I'll just wait till it comes out on PC." I guarantee you the people who say that are far smaller in number now.
Oh yeah,
like a year down the track than there was at launch. You know, the hype.
I'm still holding out. It'll come to PC eventually.
It will eventually, but it just the hype will.
See, the way I view it, the way I view it is, I don't even mind it because it was so incredibly flawed at launch. So the way I view it is, it's like giving the food to the peasants to check if there's poison in it, right?
Wait.
And then if the peasants die from the food, I don't eat it as a noble, right? And as a PC Andy, I am definitely part of the nobility of gaming. You know?
Oh my
what
God.
was incredibly flawed at launch? What game are we talking about?
Are we talking about 16 or?
A lot of people. I heard a lot of people complaining about 16. Now, I didn't play it. I didn't watch it. What I mainly got from it. So, if we're going to be very serious here, and I'm not just going to go after the console Andes because it's always fun.
Yeah.
If we're going to be very serious here, I think the reason, from what I could tell from, and you guys can tell me because you both played it, it felt to me that a lot of people were angry because it wasn't the game that they expected to be playing. And not because the game was bad, it was literally just not what they expected it was going to be, which is such an unfair thing to get angry about because you're playing a game based on what the developer wanted the game to be, right? And the developer never made promises about what this game was going to ultimately be. So can you really be angry?
They made
Yes,
it
you
perfectly
can,
clear. They
and
made
it
it
is and it
perfectly clear
isn't,
that
but
the
you
game
go
was going to be the game was going to be an action game. They made it clear. But no, Sebby, I want to hear from you. You're the Final Fantasy expert.
Yeah, let's hear from Seb.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I know it fairly well. But like, it's Final Fantasy is different from a lot of series, say like Mario or Zelda, where they do stick to a very strict formula, pretty much for the last 30 years. You know what I mean? Like, Mario and Zelda, it might go through different incarnations, but it always feels like a Mario Zelda game.
Zelda is very different. The last 2 entries in the Zelda franchise have been very divisive. There's a lot of people that actually don't like them because they're very different from previous Zeldas.
But let me put it this way: those Zeldas were not, say, turn-based. It didn't go from action to turn-based.
No.
That is a dramatic, massive change in the sheer fundamental gameplay itself,
But
which Final Fantasy has gone through ever since 10 and 10.2 ended. 13 happened, but no one talks about that. I don't know. It's got some fans, but look, Final Fantasy is unique as a series because with it's sort of like its entire series is like a multiverse. That's a better way to think of it.
Yeah.
And each sequel sort of reinvents a number of wheels each time. But it always has some very strict formulas thing. There's certain things that always show up, like chocobos, those big yellow ostriches show up. Moogles pretty much always show up.
I know what a chocobo is. What the fuck, Sebby?
Yeah.
No, but he's talking about the audience, I think.
But did you know that chocobos come from Nausicaa Valley of the Wind, the Miyazaki movie? Yeah. Are you that weeb? Sorry, that's a really weeb thing to say.
I know none of the words you just said,
bro.
I know none of the words you just said.
Down my chair.
Let me flex my weeb muscles over here. Let me flex my superior knowledge of Final Fantasy. No, but what I'm trying to say is that the FF argument is complicated because there's always a number of things that are in each series, but there's also a number of wheels that get reinvented. And there's also kind of 2 time periods of it. There's sort of like the classic age, which is FF 1 to 10, pretty much all turn-based at that point. After 10, Square sort of becomes like Square Enix, and that's where a lot of things change. With the exception of 13, for the most part, it goes away from turn-based like forever. It's this sort of weird pseudo action thing. And it always seems to have issues, you know what I mean? It never.
But
also,
now
this series,
there's another game. You tweeted it out.
Got considerably safer and more soy.
But you tweeted it out. You tweeted out about a game that's coming out soon that is actually going back to the turn-based formula of Final Fantasy. And I have to be honest, I looked at that game.
33?
It looks fire.
It fucking looks good, bro. It looks good.
Amazing. It looks fucking great. I don't know who Sandfall are. I think they're a French company. But I am just so glad that they are giving an enormous chunk of the gaming market what they've basically been begging for since FF10 for the last 20 years. You know what I mean? And I think that the whole sort of turn-based won't sell mentality, I think that kind of came from PS1 transitioning
ridiculous.
to PS2. Look, it's ridiculous, but I see why it happened. Because in PS1, you really can't do like GTA 3 in PS1. It just can't handle it. And turn-based was a very clever way to sort of work with the limitations of the console. So yes, it was turns and everything was activating some kind of all your moves were activating a sort of cinematic or cutscene, which is more advanced graphically than any other game could pull off with an in-game engine at the time. And YouTube wouldn't exist for another like 5 years. So you want to see these cinematics? You got to play the game. This was very, very strong. PS2, you could now do stuff like GTA 3 and Devil May Cry and all that. So it changes. But this argument that turn-based wouldn't sell in Final Fantasy on Square, it worked on paper. I don't think it played out.
You see,
I don't think it played out in reality. And if it doesn't sell, how do you explain the sales of Baldur's Gate 3, Dragon Quest, Yakuza Like a Dragon, Persona, Honkai Star Rail, Sea of Stars, Octopath Traveler? Like there are a lot of games that are turn-based that
Dude,
make
even
fuck tons of money,
bro, but
and that
it's
people recommend to each other more than modern Square
but
titles.
funnily
which is sad.
enough,
and that's why I'm so excited about Expedition 33. Sorry for
but you
the
see, this is no. But this is where the gaming industry, and we're sort of circling back to the gaming industry problems, but on a much different tangent here. This is where the gaming industry keeps losing customers because you have these executives that obviously want to go bigger, badder, better, right? They just want to go, and oftentimes I think they start chasing the success of other games. So they start looking at a game like Devil May Cry or a game like GTA and they go, man, it would be cool if we could do that in our game. So let's fuck the turn-based bullshit. Let's do the cool thing instead. And it's like, wait a second. Your game has, like, I guarantee you, the Devil May Cry guys probably looked at your game and said, guys, we'll never be able to pull that off. So let's instead go for the action-based one because we don't have the skills. Because turn-based is a skill. Anyone that thinks that turn-based is the easier option, go play Baldur's Gate 3 and look at the magic. That game wouldn't work with action combat. It works because the combat is strategic and you need that time because the combat is so incredibly strategic. So turn-based has its own allure for a lot of people and it comes with its own stressfulness. I remember fighting those Baldur's Gate 3 fights where you're fucking stressed, bro. You're like, oh, please don't hit this guy because I don't have any help.
It just keeps getting worse. So on that point, right, I remember when Baldur's Gate 3 was huge, there was a tweet saying, hey, can the devs just add an action-based version for the rest of us?
Yeah.
And that was quite a bit of traction. I thought that's basically like asking for an action-based version of chess.
Yeah.
Like, imagine if that, how would this even work? It is fundamentally different.
I want to play chess in real time. Look at how fast I can eat all of your pieces. Look, I win.
Now imagine if you did that the other way around. Imagine if you said, look, I love GDA, but can you guys add a turn-based version of that? Yeah, the community would be like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Imagine we're playing chess.
Can we get some turn-based COD? Actually, I'd be interested in turn-based COD. No, but you
listen,
know what I mean? Like,
yeah, true.
Imagine we're playing
the community
chess.
Be like, what is this?
We're playing chess, and I just pick up your king, throw it at your face, boom, and say, I won. It's like, what is this?
Yeah.
It's just dodgeball, but with chess pieces, you know. So. But I'm not shitting on people who don't like turn-based. That's totally fine.
Oh, yeah.
I just think it's sad that there's been this gigantic... If there was not such a gigantic gap in the AAA market for turn-based games, no one would be giving a shit about Expedition 33.
Yeah.
People would be looking at it and be like, wait, doesn't Square do this like every 2 years?
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's anyone in Square who looked at Expedition 33 and was just like, fuck.
We should have done that.
That should be our spot.
Yeah.
Why aren't we doing that?
So my
we could even do that better, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know. I'm really happy. I'm excited.
My thing is with 16,
Me too.
there were a lot of people that were going like,
yeah,
oh, this is not what I wanted. I want a turn-based and all of that. But is it not fair that Yoshi P is like, oh, but I want to make an action game? Because I don't think that Yoshi P was looking at Devil May Cry in 2020 whenever he started developing it and going like, man, Devil May Cry is really cool. I'm gonna make one like that. I think it was more thinking about, oh, dude, what if we can make some crazy cinematic set piece moments in our game? And what suits that better? And how can we put the players in control of those crazy cinematic set piece moments? Now, he decided that the way that he was going to do it is the way that the cinematic clashes end up happening with the big iconic battles in 16. And to me, I was like, this is fucking awesome. I love this because I like action games. I also like turn-based games. I like them both. So to me, it was more like I was going to play whatever Creative Business Unit 3 was going to put out because I love that team. I know they're going to deliver a solid story, and I know they're going to deliver a good gameplay experience because of what I've already experienced with Final Fantasy 14, right? So I'm thinking, I want to play what this team wants to make. If it's an action game, I want to play it. If it's a turn-based game, I want to play it. I want to play it because of the team. It's kind of the same way that I look, for instance, at Capcom. They're making a game right now that I'm not even sure I'd be into, which is like this quirky mixed strategy with real-time action combat and whatnot. And I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be into that, but it's Capcom, so I want to check it out because they do really cool stuff and they do Monster Hunter and do all these things, right? And so it's like usually the way that I look at the gaming industry now is I look at what team is doing what and I want to check out what that team is doing. If that's a
Yeah.
turn-based game, I want to check that out. If that's an action game, I want to check that out. And from that aspect, I played 16 and I was like, I loved every moment of it. Now I know that for a lot of people, the side quests were a problem, and that I can concede. But the thing is, because I'm used to side quests in 14 and whatnot and doing questing in 14, the side quests of 16, I was like, I don't care. Doesn't bother me at all. So, that's the thing. There was one point where it bothered me, and that was there's like a point in the story where they present you with this situation where it's like, our friends, we need to go help our friends. This is an urgent situation. And then at the same time, also we just unlocked 10 side quests for it. I was like, bro, pacing. Come on. That was one moment in the game when I was like, that one was not cool. Other than that, I was like, that's fine. Because you can skip the side quests if you want to. It's completely optional. So
the issues of 16 though are outside of and like in terms of the side quest and the main quest, there's a big controversy about that. I actually thought a big issue with 16 was the pacing. There were an enormous number of quests in the main story that I don't think should have been there. I think the pacing dragged like crazy between. I thought the boss fights in those segments were absolutely spectacular. Titan, Bahamut, Typhon, Garuda, these are all amazing segments. But why the hell is me going and buying garlic and bringing it back and giving it to someone in the main hub? Why is that a main quest? The fuck out of here.
that was a main quest. I don't remember that one, but
that's a main. No, it is the infamous garlic buying main quest. It's a thing. It's sort of a meme in the 16 community. Also, there were a couple side quests in the beginning that was so good. I thought they should have been main quests. They were so damn good.
But the one where you go and get the food for the dudes, I was like, this one's actually a good one. Because you're just like you're heading down. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. You go on. You finish that, and then
I was just saying that the one where, because it kind of shows you how these people were living and how like everybody's kind of like suffering. So you taking food out to people, I actually think that some of those are kind of cool because it gives you more about the struggle that the people are going through. Never about, oh man, I've been so oppressed by everybody because I'm a bearer and all of these things and whatnot. And I thought those were world building, but not all of the side quests, obviously.
I think world building is fine in side quests, and I think MMOs can get away with it because MMOs just kind of play differently from a single player game. I still think, as much as I like 14 and love streaming it, I still think it has some pacing issues. I personally think that it's not a good idea to throw like a 25-page lore dump in the middle of a conversation. If you want to go off and talk to the librarian optionally, and he gives you the lore dump, that's fine. But when it's forced upon you, it's a bit of it kind of slows down the pacing for me at least. But 16, I didn't mind the combat, but I know a lot of people didn't like that there was no party system in that. People wanted to be able to play as Sid, as Jill. Fuck it, even let us play as the dog, Torgal. Why not? Every Final Fantasy's had a party system. It feels a bit weird without it. Again, not my biggest issue. I didn't mind the combat. But yeah, the pacing I found to be an issue. A certain main character, this is spoiling without spoiling. A certain main character should have been in the game a lot longer. And I'm talking about Ruri. And once they're gone, the dynamic they had with the main character, it's gone too. And it didn't feel as fun without them. I think what I'm talking about.
I think fundamentally,
I honestly don't remember. It's been so long since I played that.
Rurikon just kills things.
You don't even remember what I'm talking about.
I probably do know who you're talking about. I just need some clues. Like, give me a hint.
He dies.
He's constantly ripping on Clive. Oh fuck! Whoops! I might have given away too much, but oh fuck it. Oh, you know what? If you cared, you would have played it by now, audience. And if you're waiting for it to come out on PC,
you're shut out of luck. It's probably never coming.
I'm sorry, guys, but
I mean,
I didn't like a lot of the swearing in it either. I thought that was a bit forced. It was a bit hello, fellow kids. Like it's kind of like I don't know. Some of the swearing hits. I
thought it was fine. I was actually happy because so many times you see developer being so hesitant to use swear words. I was like, no, fuck it. Just drop an F-bomb. I don't care.
No, but let me put it this way. Like GDA has a shit ton of swearing, right?
Yeah.
You know where they don't swear in San Andreas is when they're doing like the big smokes, big order. I'll have a number 9 large, a number 2. you know, and all that. If FF16 wrote that scene, he'd be saying, I'll have a fucking number line large, a fucking number 2, a fucking large Coke. Like, it felt excessive to the point of it being immersion breaking a bit too much. For me, at least, I don't know. It didn't feel like it. I don't think Final Fantasy is a Tarantino movie. And if it is,
yeah, that's the thing. I think
swearing felt a bit fellow kids.
Swearing, I sort of always put in the same aspect as like sex in movies, right? I'm with Henry Cavill, where unless the sex scene is absolutely paramount to the story, why even have that in the movie? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
You could have done it without that.
Thing.
No,
Doug Stanhope's thing where he's like, that sex in action movies is like if you put an action scene in my porno. You know?
Yeah,
it's like you're sitting there enjoying yourself, and then suddenly there's a train robbery. It's like, what is this doing in here? This is not what I'm watching this for. You know what I mean? That's why I don't like sex. Or I mean, I love sex, but I mean, I don't like sex. I don't like forced love scenes.
Yeah.
I'm done. But I don't like forced love scenes in action movies.
Yeah, same.
I just think it's pointless, man. It's a waste of everyone's time.
With swearing,
kick ass.
with swearing, I would say it's the same thing, right? There are, in my mind, 2 directors that can pull off excessive swearing and just because of how they direct and the kind of movies that they create, and that's Tarantino and Guy Ritchie, right? Those 2 do excessive swearing, excessive sort of, but everything in their movies are so natural, surreal. Right. Yeah, it's a state of being that it's just perfect. But yeah, if you have someone swearing just because they can, that really takes away from the experience of the movie. And yeah, I get what you're saying.
At FF16, you have this woman come up to this bloke and just be like, "You cock," and it's like no one says this. Or like very early in the beginning, you're running away from shit falling everywhere, and one of your NPC blokes is just like, "Fuck, fuck, 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 fuck." It's just like, I get it. You know, sure, you get to go full R-rated, you're having fun, but as the customer, it feels a bit immersion breaking.
Yeah, OG Fox was having a blast. He's like, bro, I'm dropping F-bombs every chance I get.
I like Koji. I got an emoji of him in my stream. I think he's a mad dog. Cool. Yeah, no, 16, it runs into a lot of problems where, I mean, look, it's not the biggest issue in the world, the whole swearing thing, but the pacing has definitely come under wide criticism. It felt like it was paced like an MMO, which it didn't need to be because it's a single player. It certainly feels less fun once you lose a very important main character, in my opinion. I think it's necessary for the dynamic of the entire party. I don't know. The rest I forget. It's just been so long, but it's got so many good things about it that when I think about the good things about 16, there's so fucking much. And it's just sad that it was hamstrung by console exclusivity.
Yeah.
And crushing pacing.
Dude, console exclusivity needs to die the fuck out. Exclusivity needs to die.
Not good.
It holds back the industry in a way that, in my mind, we could be so much further along if we just dropped this whole push for exclusivity.
Yeah, I mean that was one of the things with Square Enix, where I remember I even talked about this in one of my streams where they come out with their report saying like, oh, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth didn't really made as much money as we wanted. It's like, yeah, no shit, you idiots. Look at what you did. You made it a fucking exclusive. Like, of course you're going to make less money because you got paid by somebody else. You've exchanged the security of making like a big bag at the beginning for the security of selling a bunch of copies. You were expecting big sales on this console that hasn't sold as much as the previous console? Like, and you're not going to release it on... And here's the thing. This is something that is not even something that you can fix at this point, because a lot of publishers don't understand the importance of day and date. They
Yeah.
don't understand that, like, there's all of this hype around the game. People are going to buy the game right now in this, especially now. The more we move into the future, the more we have this culture of the now, where things are only important if they're happening now. Now is the time that I want to play this thing right now. The second it releases, can't even be like 3 hours later. It needs to be the same second that it releases. Everybody needs to have access. Otherwise, you're losing potential sales 100%. And you know, that's what companies are doing. And so, yeah, of course, Seven Rebirth could have been the best game of all times for all we know. But I mean, some people probably think it is. I don't think it's the best game of all. I think it's pretty good. I really liked what I played of it. I didn't get to finish it. But regardless of that, it's like, it's never going to sell as much as it could have because you limited your player base. Like, I don't know how,
Didn't get a fair
we're
shot
the
in the
ones
market.
that have to tell you this.
Yeah.
Well,
It's weird.
actually, I don't know. Square's got a unique sort of community and culture where, and I know this having been someone who streams Final Fantasy all the bloody time, even legit criticism of minor things can be attacked by some members of its community. You know what I mean? I don't think, like, people will make excuses for motion blur. They'll make excuses for the fact that in FF7 Rebirth, which you can only play on PS5, you can either play it in performance mode, where you get your 60 frames, but now everyone has this weird bloom around their faces. Their faces look kind of bad and weird on the field.
Yeah.
Or you can play it in graphics mode, which looks fantastic until you move the camera. And then bang, you're in choppy 30 frames, Phil. Excuses will be made, like you can't tell the difference between 30 and 60 frames. You're entitled for wanting it to run at 60 and look good at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a thing of Square is like reverse Blizzard. Blizzard is like, I think Blizzard actually does a shit ton of things really well, and I loved the fuck out of Season Discovery. I killed a lot of people who were just trying to mind their business and level it, right? I had a lot of fun. Okay. But Blizzard, it seems to me that they can do, even when they do a ton of things right, the things they do wrong will be absolutely dogpiled upon.
Yeah.
Absolutely shut on.
Because they should,
And,
usually.
But Square, on the other hand, sometimes they make what to me and to many people egregious mistakes, but they don't even know that huge chunks of their community don't like it, because I found this with Rebirth. I'll criticize major or minor things about it, and I've activated the swarm. You know, I suddenly get hit with a tidal wave of gaslights and misrepresentations and bloody just straight up lies and stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you can like that game. That's totally fine. Don't let me take that away from you, but be honest about it. Don't tell me that, like, my eyes and ears are wrong about what I'm seeing here.
Yeah.
I think in that regard, I do feel like Square's in a tough spot, because I don't think they know what a lot of their community really thinks. A lot of the people who don't like Rebirth or modern Final Fantasy, they don't even bother saying anything at all. They just quiet quit. They stop buying the games. They go somewhere else. And I know this because I'm a person who thrives on chaos and just debating for the sheer fun of it. And even I get tired of arguing with people who just lie to my face.
Yeah,
You know
but
what I mean?
this is a
Gaslight. And again,
big
hashtag
problem.
not all.
Yeah.
It's just
No,
some.
but I must say, this is a big problem in the gaming industry overall, is the fact that any criticism of any company that I consider to be my company, I have to defend rabidly, right? I have to absolutely attack you. I have to destroy you. And it's like, what I don't get from players who do that is, what do you think you are fundamentally achieving here? Because you're not helping. The developers are not getting better if no one criticizes the game. That's not how that works. Criticism is how games get better. You need to be able to criticize openly so that the game can get better and so that more people can play it. It's not good if we just stop criticizing games, because then games that are really bad but could be really good, and we all know games like that, where the game comes out and if it wasn't for one or two major flaws, this could actually have been a really good game, and yet you're not allowed to say anything, right? Because the fan base will just absolutely destroy you for it. And it's like, dudes, there are things in this world that are important and that you should defend. Your wife, your husband, your kids defend those, right? Your friends. But not multi-billion-dollar gaming studios. They don't need your fucking defense, right? They don't need you as the English Defense League, running fucking just, no, we will not allow this shit to happen. It's like, bro, just calm down. This is gaming. Everyone's allowed to have an opinion here, and you're allowed to disagree with that opinion, but do so in a way that is actually constructive in some way, shape, or form. Let's talk about something that isn't controversial at all, shall we? Elden Ring.
Okay. All right. Good. I'm glad you went there.
It's not controversial?
Yeah, I mean, there's been,
I don't think it's controversial at all. I played a bit of the DLC. It's fucking fine.
So wait,
I loved it.
Before we jump into the DLC,
Mhm.
Akalon, I need to understand, why exactly did you start playing Elden Ring when the DLC came out? Because you're not playing the DLC.
No.
You started playing the game, which I'm happy for, because I've been
Mhm.
like, man, Akalon, please play Elden Ring. I want to hear your lore theories, dude, because it's always interesting seeing people's lore theories.
Oh,
But why did you start playing it?
we were literally chilling in stream, and I was actually planning on playing something else. I can't remember what it was, but I was planning on playing a different game. And chat was like, bro, just try Elden Ring. Just quickly try Elden Ring. And I was like, okay, fine.
Good on you, chat.
I'll do
Holy
a little
shit.
bit of Elden Ring, and then we'll
great.
play the other game. I can't remember what it was. Fuck. It was some city builder that I wanted to try out. Timberborn. That's the one. I was sort of teasing chat and going, oh, maybe we'll try some Timberborn. I mean, I got into Elden Ring. I made my character. I ran through it. I got fucked by the spider guy without even landing a single hit, which really, really pissed me off. But then
You're meant to lose that. Don't worry.
Who's the spy? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the very
grafted
first
scion.
one.
The grafted scion.
That
yeah.
guy's really hard.
you're-
man, but,
You're
all right.
supposed to get fucked, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
you're
then,
meant to lose. So.
got into the world, started running around a little bit, and before I knew it, I was completely hooked. Like I just keep playing. I'm now finally
It's
past
so
Margit.
good, man.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
You killed Margit?
Yeah.
I killed Margit. Yeah, I took him down.
Hey!
He's tough, man.
We need
and,
some
like,
likes on this podcast for Akalon beating Margit. Finally.
I just
Goddamn.
do. Okay, so I'm gonna be very controversial now, and I recognize this. I am not suggesting at any point here that there is a right way or a wrong way to play it. I'm just giving you my opinion on how I beat Margit and how it did take away from the experience for me a little bit there. So going into Margit, chat was like, bro, there's this golden writing outside that you can talk to, and then you get a summoned
Summon
guy,
Rajier.
right? So I summon the guy, and then I go in there, I summon my wolves, and I have the Margit prison thing as well, right?
Finally.
But here's the problem. That victory didn't have the same payoff for me.
Don't do
Hold
that.
up, hold up. I'm talking about how I
this is a
felt.
nuanced argument.
Hold up.
But
Yeah.
Continue. Yeah.
I'm talking about how it felt. So, for example, when I fought the Tree Sentinel, it took me about 20 tries to get the Tree Sentinel down. I think about 20, maybe 25 to get the Tree Sentinel down. When I killed the Tree Sentinel, I was ecstatic. It was this thing of, you motherfucker, I got you. Because it was hard, and I had to dodge everything, but I finally got him down, right? Margit, I didn't have that same feeling. It wasn't that, because it was literally on my second try, I think, that I killed him with all of the summons, right? So I think what would have been probably better is, instead of going with the summons immediately, I should have tried him a couple of times without the summons.
Yeah.
And then if I realize that the summons, or I can't do it without the summons, then maybe do one of the summons, right? And see how that goes. My problem was I used everything.
You went into Margit fully armed and you overpowered him, and you now don't know how fucked that guy is when you try to solo him.
Well,
he's a real bastard, mate.
Yeah.
So
that's why I did it, by the way, because when I went to Margit earlier in the playthrough, he fucking wrecked me. And I was like, okay, I can't get past this guy. This guy is too hard.
So, but
he's
see, Echo,
very
for
strong.
instance, there was that moment that I was in your stream, and you were fighting some catacomb watcher, and he had like the 4 little imps, and you would just keep going in and dying and going in and dying. It's like
Yeah.
you could have just gone in, summoned your wolves,
Yeah.
just the wolves, and then the wolves would help you with the minions, and then you would kill the boss, and it would be fine. That would be fine. And it, but so basically, I go into your stream, and he's like, "No worries, summoning is cheating." And I was like, "How the fuck? Like, you're not even a
Yeah.
part of this community yet, and you have this notion that summoning is cheating. How does this even happen? This
100%.
is insane to me." And then the other thing
It
is,
is
right?
situational.
So I know Akko, and Akko, we've had conversations about World of Warcraft, and he's always like, "Oh, why would you play a melee character when you can cast spells?" And then I go into the game and I'm like, "Why are you playing a melee? Why aren't you playing a magic character?" Oh, chat told me it was too powerful. I was like, "Motherfucker! Oh my
Mr.
god,
Peer
dude!
pressure
I
over
was
here,
so
mate.
I was so triggered, dude, because I hear this all the time, and it's like, listen, for me, for instance, casting spells is harder because I don't cast spells. I know how to do it. It's not, a complicated thing. It's just, to me, it's harder finding the openings to cast a spell than it is to just
Ugh.
like going in there and whacking something in the face.
Yeah.
So it's like casting spells is not automatically easier unless you do a perfect setup with Comet Azure, infinite mana, all of these things. And then you can go like, "Brr, Kamehame," bah, and blast the boss to death. Yeah. But other than that, magic is not overpowered. It is not invalid. It is not cheating, just like summoning is not cheating. These are tools the game gives you, is all I'm getting at.
Oh,
I
yeah.
Yeah, I'm
also
happy.
think
I'm happier playing it.
how you play, like, it's like fighting games. You got to find a character that kind of just feels like you. Don't look at
Yeah.
the tier list and be like, well, these are the S tier characters, they're the best ones.
Yeah.
Like, there was a guy who won a Tekken tournament, like a worldwide tournament with Panda, who is literally F tier, beat all the best people in the world. Not even the guy who made the game could believe it. Now, because at first he was going with the metas, but he's like, but I like the Panda. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
same with Souls. There are people who will say Dex is the only way to play, so on and so forth. For me, I am a low IQ, high strength build.
That's what I like to hear.
Love it, and I've never, I don't even know how to learn magic in Souls because
Yeah.
the thought has never crossed my mind.
See,
So it's like
Sebi is the
big
Unga
armor
to
and the
my
big
Bunga.
fucking sword. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
the Unga, I'm the Bunga. There you go.
You see,
Unga
but
Bunga Club.
It
I think-
works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah,
I think the thing for
what are
me
you saying?
that I think is important, and this is, I learned this off the market. Now, I think I am going to do another playthrough at some point, maybe offline, but where I will do this correctly. But I do think while there's no correct way to play it, I do think there is an argument to be made for embracing the challenge of the game. And
Oh, yeah.
before you just go gung ho, summon as much as you fucking can, find every cheat in the or not cheat, but every sort of shortcut to get the boss down. First, engage in the challenge. Try
Do the
to see
dance,
if the
yeah.
challenge, and then use the summons and stuff of that nature to get the challenge more on your level. Is what I would say.
I think
I mean-
try each boss without a summon. Oh, sorry, you go first, and then I'll.
I was just gonna say that it's like, fundamentally, if it's in the game, it's fair game. And I say this as someone who's played these games since Demon Souls, because back then, like, I killed Tower Knight, but I don't know if you guys know the Tower Knight fight in Demon Souls. Like, it's this big, huge knight, as the name implies, Tower Knight. He's got a big shield. And the way you're supposed to fight him is you're supposed to hit at his ankles, like actually the back of his feet, and that will cause him to fall down. And then you can hit him in the head when he falls down.
Okay.
That's the intended strategy. But this fight also has a bunch of like crossbowmen at the top of a structure. So initially, you have to like run around the Tower Knight, go up to the ramparts, kill everything that's up there, and then come back down and fight the Tower Knight. But what I did the first time that I killed him was I went upstairs. I killed all the dudes that were upstairs, and then I put my character in a way that the Tower Knight couldn't get to me. And then I would be in there like with a bow, and I would shoot him in the bow straight at the head. So I'm like, I don't have to hit his ankles. I will shoot him dead in the head. Like, this is fine. There was a dragon that would do like flybys in Demon Souls, and you could put yourself in a position in a tower where if you'd aim your bow in a certain angle, you would shoot. And every single time the dragon would fly by, you could hit him once with an arrow, and you stay there for like 30 minutes, one arrow. And you'll
my.
kill him. I
Hey.
would kill stuff like that in Demon Souls, and it's like, you better anything that's in the game, I will use anything because everybody's saying this game is super hard. I will use every tool in the book, and that is a perfectly fine way of playing. It's like if you want to go in, summons, gung ho, magic, summon other players, and completely just bully bosses down. That is a valid way of playing the game. If you want to challenge yourself, that is also a valid way of playing the game. You go in there and you're like, you know what? I want to try it without summons. Like I beat the whole DLC and I only summoned like twice for very specific instances, but like I beat the whole DLC without summoning pretty much. And it's like, this doesn't make me better than anybody else. And I think it's a stupid argument to have. I think this, like, you go in, you make your own challenge. That's the beauty of it. That's why I like this game, because there's no difficulty selection. Everybody goes through the same difficulty. It's just which tools are you going to use that are available to you.
Yeah.
That is what matters. So to me, the whole thing that was bothering me, Akko, is not, oh, I want to do this without someone. Okay, but you're getting frustrated for no reason.
I was very
just
frustrated
like,
on that fight, man.
This is bad. I hate it so much. It's just like, just summon the dogs and kill it, or don't. But then don't complain about the difficulty. Because
but I will also say the fight or the game offers. It's a phenomenal experience, actually, because
it is.
It's amazing.
You determine, it is absolutely one of a kind in terms of, and I'm not talking about Elden Ring, I'm talking about Souls games in that regard, where you determine how hard or how easy you want things to be, not just through the mechanics that the game offers you, but also just through the fighting style. So, for example, I know there's a bunch of people that play full block. Right, and block is obviously going to be a lot easier than the way I play, which is dodge. Well, not easier,
not necessarily.
No.
Depends on the boss.
Not
Depends on the boss, because there are
obviously.
some bosses wherein, like, every time you'll hit you, it's like bonk, like, oh shit. So
or
like,
you try
if every single hit he breaks your guard, then it doesn't matter if you're blocking.
True.
Or what about Millennia? Like, I tried blocking
just
against
heals
her.
through your guard,
She leeches life on hit, even if you got your shield up. I'm like, I can't use this against her.
Yeah, you can't block.
Worked against Rolana, but yeah. Sorry, as you were saying, Arco.
No.
It depends situationally.
It wasn't.
Where you are and who you're fighting.
It wasn't so much that it's easier. It's just this is how. So, for example, with block, you're gonna have to find different angles, and that's where the difficulty is gonna come in. Instead of having to worry about the specific timing necessarily of when you're blocking, but with dodging, you have to care a lot more about the the timing, not so much about the angles that you're working through. So the difficulty is a sliding scale based on how you prefer to play a game. What's your preferred play style?
You haven't even talked about the other play style. You can also parry. And that one, ooh!
I don't know how to parry. I don't know
I'm
how
too
that.
old for that shit, man. Like, my reactions are trash, bro.
You want to know? You want to know why you don't know how to parry?
How?
For the same reason you don't know which button it is to do a fucking strong attack, because you're playing with a keyboard and a mouse.
I know which button is a strong attack. The reason I don't strong
You've
attack.
never done it. I've been in your stream so often. I
No.
keep screaming.
I have done.
Strong
Hold
attack,
up.
Akko. Use the strong attack.
I have done strong attacks. The reason I tend not to do strong attacks is first and foremost much slower, but also I get more bleeds if I do fast attacks. And if the bleed procs, I get the sense of, this is so fucking cool. So I try to do fast attacks more often.
He breaks the game. He's using bleed, cheating.
Yeah, no, actually, you're cheating.
Man.
Like, bleed is broken. Anything less than a soul level 1 wretch, and you're cheating, mate. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I have to say though,
you do that.
I tip my fucking hat at anyone that goes rich and refuses to, and maidenless.
Rune level 1.
Dude, that is ridiculous.
They're not. That's too hard. Soul level
That's
1's too hard. Hitless is too
ridiculous,
hard.
bro. Maidenless. That would be ridiculous.
Look,
But all right,
I'm never too worried about proving how much of a god gamer I am through Souls, because no matter how good I get, I'm never gonna be as good as the Happy Hob, who can no hit run the entire series in one sitting, from Demon Souls to Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, Sekiro, and Elden Ring. Like, no matter how good you are, you're not that good. So I don't know, man. Unless there's a whole PvP.
But there's
section, which there
also
probably is.
There's also something to be said there. Especially with people who do stuff like that. So, for example, people who do speed runs. People like to
Yeah.
look at these people and go, "Oh, that's just superior gaming skill," and it's like, well, it is a lot of skill, but it's sort of
It
like
is a
in
difference.
chess, right? Chess, they don't look at the chessboard and just quickly make a move, make up the way the game is going to play out. There are a set number of moves in chess that you can make at any given point in time.
Usually it's like 5 moves
And
ahead that they're thinking, I think.
yeah, but the problem, remember, chess is all about set moves. Every move that you make has a number of set moves that can be made after that, and they just know those moves so well, so it just sort of comes naturally to them. That is why they can do it so fast in speed chase and stuff, because it's natural, right? It's they play chess every day of their lives, so it becomes sort of their thing. That's the same thing with people who do speed runs or the no hit runs in the Souls games. They've played that game probably a million times at this point. So they know on every single boss what they're going to do, how they're going to do it, when they're going to do it, and how to get around it, how to not get hit by it. Specific builds to use in order to ensure that you can escape these things. So it's a thing of, if you have the time, you can probably do it too. But you're going to need time. You're going to need a decade of playing nothing but Souls games and master that game, right? Back to front.
That's too hard.
I don't want to do
hard,
that.
mate.
I want to experience the game. I want to enjoy the game.
Yeah.
It's a phenomenal game.
Yeah, but I can
yeah.
understand that some people do want to do that. They want to master it to that level, and I appreciate that. I'm like, bro, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
It's like speedrunners. I have never played a game where I have had interest in speedrunning it.
They're a different breed, mate.
Yeah.
That's incredible what those guys can do. My God.
It's awesome to watch, right? It's super fun to watch a speedrunner speedrun a game. I just have no interest in fucking speedrunning a game, right? I don't want to go into a level and look for every single possible way of making this level faster. I just want to go into a level and enjoy the game, right? That's why I'm here. But
Well,
okay,
that's their specialty, and like
yeah,
we got our
that's
specialty.
their
Like,
thing.
yours is like lore, mine is like the whole voice acting thing, and so on and so
Yeah.
forth.
Rurikon
just
is all
dumb.
Souls
just
games.
dumb.
Well, fuck it, man. You're all about the Souls games. Like challenge
Souls and Monster Hunters.
Monster
That's me.
Hunters.
Oh
But
my
okay,
God.
so let's talk about the Elden Ring, controversy, because I do think it's an important one. Hour and 40 minutes into the podcast. Elden Ring. Okay, so we have the Shadow of the Earth Tree. It launches.
Shadow of the Earth Tree DLC drops.
Yeah.
And so there's
And
a
the
couple
community
of things
is
that happen.
upset.
Yeah, so let me just give you a quick timeline, right? So
Mhm.
me and a couple of other people, we get early access to the game. We start playing through the game. We're all just having a blast. And
Yeah.
then, reviews come out. I had to do a review in progress because I wasn't able to finish the game because I was recording, doing all of these things, and a ton of interruptions in real life. But basically, so I put out my review and I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing. This is probably the best piece of DLC From Software has ever made. Bunch of other people say the same thing. Then comes out Eurogamer. She's like, the game is too handholdy, which is a weird thing to say about a Souls game.
True.
She's saying game is too handholdy, and then shortly after, and it's also too hard just for the sake of being hard. And I was like, so wait a minute. What? These things are a little bit conflicting. And then on top of it, people that got a review code, we also got like an early game guide that tells you like, okay, here's where you can go to become a little bit more powerful at the start if you're struggling, if you're having problems. And so they tell you a couple of tips to get you started, because a lot of people, will use something like that, because I tweeted about it and I mentioned that guide in the context of the review of Eurogamer, who was saying the game was too hard. And people started saying, so wait a minute, why does press get a guide and the regular players don't get a guide? And the reasoning is press is on a deadline. So like they'll receive a game and it's like, okay, you've got 1 week and you need to either finish the game or play enough of the game to have a good idea of what the game is like, so that you can put out either your review or your opinion piece or whatever. They're on a deadline, which is very different than like a regular gamer that's like, you're going to pick up the game and you're going to be playing it for like the next 2-3 weeks, maybe month, whatever. Now, sure, some people will say, no, I got to finish this game so that I can play this other one. And I understand that, but it's not like you're not on the same deadline as somebody that has to put out a written review or a video review or whatever. That's a much more time pressure type thing. And that's why I think they made that guide. to kind of introduce people to the game in case they were struggling with it, right? But yeah, so there's that Eurogamer review. Then there's also the Kotaku review, which is hilarious because they go into the beginning of the review and they start talking about, I go into the realm of shadow and in front of me the Halig tree. And I was like, the what? The Halig tree? So Akko, you're not going to know this, but there's the Erd tree in the lands between, and then there's another tree in the lands between called the Halig tree, which is a tree that Mikola made, and there's like this whole lore behind it. But the Halig tree is in the base game; it's not in the DLC. But this reviewer knows so much about the game that she goes on just like, in front of me, the Halig tree, which was made by Mikola to heal his sister Melania, and I was like, you've got all the lore about the Halig tree right. But that's not the Halig tree.
Like how Anakin blew up the Death Star.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly.
It's
It's like
That's
Anakin blew up the Death Star.
I love that.
And the thing is, it's one
that's
thing.
Great. That's
It's
great.
one thing if there's even the possibility of you being confused, like, oh, what tree is that? But you literally, as you are playing the DLC, you pick up these little fragments that you can use to get stronger, and it says Shadu tree fragments. So that you know, oh, that's the Shadu tree because I picked up a Shadu tree. No, the Halig tree. Anyway, so you get these reviews and there's like a little bit of conflict and whatnot, but mostly everybody says game is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Game releases for everybody else. People jump into the game. Game's too hard. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What game are you guys playing? Like, this is insane. Because I'm playing through the game. I don't think it's too hard. I think it's about a little bit. It's a little bit of a step up from what you expect from Elden Ring, but that's to be expected. You're in the end game, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're in the tail end of the game. You have
like
to
the Ring City in DS3. That was hard. That was like, that was a step
they
up from the
nerfed
base
that.
game.
They nerfed
did?
that significant. Yeah, they did the Gundam
Medea still kicked
Angel.
the shit out of me. Fuck
like,
Medea. Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so
God.
it's like it's a little bit hard there, but it's not like overwhelmingly hard. And the thing is, there's that same notion that you had when you started playing the game. That's like, oh, summoning is cheating. So people aren't using their summons.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, the game's too hard. And then I asked them, well, are you using summons? No. It's like, well, then you're playing it on the hard difficulty. Like this is self-inflicted. You chose to play the game like this. You wanted to play. Like, now you have to either step up through the challenge or use summons. Like that's the way that it works. And
they weren't getting blessings either, right?
Yeah, there were some people that aren't also not using Shadutri blessings. So Akalon, to give you an idea, the way that it works is like when you go into the DLC, it doesn't matter what level you're at, because they wanted to make it in a way that it would be challenging for everyone. So even if you're super high level, there are like certain damage caps that you can achieve in your character, right? And so even if you're super high level, the enemies are going to be a certain level of tankiness and deal a certain level of damage. And then to get that sense of progression, you're meant to pick up these Shadutri blessings that will upgrade your character by a percentage. And so you'll become gradually stronger as you explore more and more. So it's like you're getting your shit beat, go explore the world, collect some fragments, become stronger, come back, beat the boss. That's kind of like the idea. And so a lot of the people are like, well, I don't want to explore this open world game. I just want to go kill the bosses. And I'm just like, what the fuck? What? But, so that is one of the things. They don't want to do Shadutri blessings. They don't want to use summons. So they just want to fight the bosses without summons.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, okay, you're playing it on a hard mode. So you can either step up to the challenge or you can use a summon. And people are still saying, no, it's too hard. It's too hard. Summons is cheating. It's too hard. And summons is cheating. And I was like, I fucking quit. Like
what
no
percentage of these players?
this.
What percentage of these players do you think are Dex Andes?
Probably a majority of them, I would expect.
I don't know. I don't know why. I just got a feeling. They're all the ninja flippy builds. Whenever they're fighting, they got "I am the storm that is a pro." That song playing in their head. And I wonder if a number of people realize they're not as good as they thought they were. The whole teleport behind you, nothing personal kid builds. Because I don't know. I as I say, I am a low IQ, high strength build. I got no pretensions, no elitism about this. This is the dumbest build ever, but it works for me and it makes me happy.
Yeah.
I summon, but the summon I use is the jellyfish because that's the equivalent of throwing a that's the equivalent of summoning a Magikarp.
But
In a boss fight, it's not it's not OP,
So
man.
basically, so
It's there
basically,
for
there
comic
you go.
relief.
See,
as
you
it
have
flops
you
around,
have
man.
you have the jellyfish, and the cool thing about the jellyfish is that it will take aggro away from the ball from you.
That's all it does. Like
Yeah,
3
exactly.
times, and that's enough.
So
It's
so
fine.
basically,
I
that's the
think that's
thing.
fine.
You've created your own difficulty, wherein you're like,
Yes,
oh,
it
I
makes
get a
it
couple of
easier.
openings. I get a couple of openings to do my attacks,
Yeah.
but at the same time, this summon is not overwhelming the boss. The problem is that
Yeah.
people can't think like that. They're like, no, if I'm summoning anything, it's gonna be my fucking mimic tier, gig it out the fucking ass, and he's gonna just like, right? And it's like there's probably over 100 summons in the game right now.
Yes.
You can
And
summon
each
so many
summon-
different things.
Each summon is its own. In fact, the amount of difficulty, the amount of difficulty sliders Elden Ring has built in through the summons is actually crazy. There's so much nuance. Like, the jellyfish, that's going to make it like slightly less hard. You get Black Knife Tish or the Mimikin, it's going to make the fight so much easier. The only one I ever used Mimic or Black Knife Tish on was I think Millennia, because after the first 50 attempts, I'm like, all right, okay,
dude,
I
with
actually
Millennia,
think she's fair. The one thing I don't like about her is her healing on block. I can understand life leeching, but what are you leeching from my shield? You cheater. So I think if she's not going to play fair, I'm not going to play fair either. Give me a Mimic tier.
with Millennia, I specifically went in with Mimic tier, and I gave him a hammer with Prayerful Strike so that he would heal himself. And I was like, if you're gonna heal, my Mimic tier heals too. And so he would go in there. Millennia would just like chop his health down to half, and he would go like, "Don't care, bitch." Boom.
That's
full
sick.
health.
That tastes good. People say Rilana is the new Millennia. No, she's not, because the key difference is Rilana's not healing. She's not leeching on you, and she's certainly not leeching from your shield. So I found Rilana fine with the jellyfish, but I don't know how bad it gets. People are saying, sorry if that's a spoil. People say, there's a guy.
Yeah, listen.
2 big swords.
That one.
Apparently, he is fucking strong.
Out. That one needs to be bleeped out 100%. Okay.
All I'm saying is I am sad that I will never know how hard the Elden Ring DLC was. I'm sad I never got there. But who knows? When I come back to streaming in a couple of weeks, maybe I'll play it and be like, holy shit, I'm glad they nerfed this. Because that was fucked.
I do want to
nerf any boss yet. They've just buffed the Shadutri blessings.
Yeah. So
so you just do more damage and take less.
Yeah.
So no, wait. The way that it works, right, is like previously the Shadutri blessings were almost like linear. So it's like, here's 5% more damage. Here's 5% more damage. Here's 5%. It was like pretty much like a linear curve. And now it starts and it goes like, here's 10% more damage. Here's 10%. So you get way more, but then it levels out, and it just ends like 5% above. So you deal 5% more damage than you would have at the end of the curve, and that damage comes a little bit earlier. So at the beginning, it's a little bit easier. Which I think
is a really good way of handling it, because Miyazaki sticks to his guns about what he believes his game is. But he also then acknowledges that the actual players don't have the player guide that tells them how to get this, and that. So, sort of levels it out, but still preserves the challenge. I do want to point out, though, that Helldiver's producer actually came out in defense of Elden Ring.
He's now the creative officer, the chief creative. He used to be the CEO. Yeah. He decided like, nah, fuck all this bullshit. I just want to go develop the game. And then he like sidestepped and he's like, no, I'm going to go into the creative officer. I just want to go make more cool shit. And somebody else can do this CEO nonsense. Yeah. That's how you know he's the real one, that guy.
See, but he said,
Johan Pilestad or whatever.
Yeah, he said this incredible line, which just, it stuck with me.
It's his studio mantra.
He said, a game made for everyone is a game made for no one.
That's the Arrowhead's studio mantra. That's what they say about every game they make.
Dude, it's like, how fucking true is that? A game made for everyone is a game made for no one. How many times have we seen games that try to cater to so many people And then it ends up catering to no one. Like, no one wants to play this.
There's 2 points I want to make about that.
Mhm.
And I'm not going to go on about this game. I'm just going to say it. I think that the FF7 Remake Rebirth trilogy is a serial offender of this.
Mhm.
It's trying to do a little bit to make the OG fans happy, but then other things to try and get in new players or for a younger audience or whatever. And it kind of tries to make everyone happy and therefore doesn't make, in my opinion, anyone really happy. I think a lot
Yeah.
of the OG fans feel like what the fuck is this? There's some people who like it, and there's a lot of new people who were caught up in the hype at the time, and now they're gone. They moved on to something else. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
that's a whole
It's
separate argument. That's my opinion. Sorry if that
yeah.
offends anyone.
The
The other thing I want to
thing
say is, oh,
go
sorry,
ahead.
you go on. And then
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to
and then I'll
point out
finish the second point.
there's an important thing about that, which is you always need to strike a balance because you need to
Mm,
have fresh blood jump into your game because eventually, you know, you can keep trying to get your older audience, but sometimes they get older and they lose interest in video games and whatnot. So it's important to appeal to your older audience, but it's also important to do something that brings somebody new in, and it's a bit of a
mm.
balancing act, and some people are able to do it properly and a lot of people are not, unfortunately. But
Mm.
go
Yeah,
ahead,
so
your
some
second
game
point.
companies do this phenomenally well.
Yeah.
Um, like I think, for example, Baldur's Gate 3, one thing it did really well is the writers understood that in this day and age, people
Mhm.
want to fuck their characters. They're in love with them. So
Yeah.
what the writers did is they made their characters super attractive, but not at the expense of the characters and the drama themselves.
Yeah.
I thought they were all, for the most part, extremely well written and really interesting. Characters like Astarion, Karlach, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But they
Fuck
know we live in the
Astarion,
era.
that
They know, yeah,
bastard.
but we. I love that guy. He's such a dickhead. He's so you wouldn't want to actually be around him in real life,
No.
but every
I killed
moment he
him
has in
three
every scene is a
times.
zinger. So
3 times I
yeah,
killed his ass to make sure he stayed dead.
oh my god, he killed me. He drank my blood while I was sleeping, and I just wanted to see what would happen if I let him continue. And he died, he killed me. And so I
Yeah, there you
resurrected
go.
my character, walked up to him, and punched him in the face. And he's like, "Oh, gosh, sorry, I didn't mean to do that." But anyway,
Oops.
that's a whole separate argument. Baldur's Gate 3
Yeah.
is fascinating in that regard. But
Yeah.
the other point I wanted to make with sorry, with what you were saying, Arco, is I love how much the Souls community has been gatekeeping the difficulty of the Elden Ring DLC. I'm glad that they are saying we love this game because it's like this.
Yep.
Please don't make this like all the other games. You want to
Yeah.
play a game that's different from this? Play the other
A
99% of
different game.
games that are
Yep.
out there. You
Mm.
know, I think the games do need their own specific identity. I
Oh
think
yeah.
Square's
But I
in
mean,
trouble because they've kind of gotten away from their roots in a lot
yeah.
of ways.
But you see, this is exactly
Baldur's
where
Gate 3, I'm glad they did not add an
yeah,
action-based mode into the game.
I wanted to
You
say
know, they're
that.
like, no, this game does things this way.
Yeah.
You want to play a game that does that? Play another game. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's
No.
it.
No.
That's the one
That's
point I
literally what I wanted to say was I get that you need new blood, but bring in the new blood based on what the community that already loves the game loves. Don't
Yeah,
try
I
to
agree.
change the game so that new people can start playing the game, because now all you're going to do is you're going to lose the old people, and the new people aren't
Yes.
going to get as attached because the game has
Yes.
lost its, pardon the pun, soul, right? It's no
Yeah.
longer the Souls game that players wanted to play. The fact is, I will say this with all honesty, there is very few feelings in video games better than the moment of you killing a boss that you have been dying to for a fucking number of times, and you get that final hit, and you're ecstatic over it,
Yep.
right? It's that burst of dopamine and serotonin. It's a phenomenal
Yeah.
feeling.
And
It feels good, man.
Yeah.
Feels good.
it's an interesting thing because in a lot of ways a lot of people think that, oh, the whole point of Souls games is the difficulty. It's like, no, you're wrong. It's not the difficulty, it's the moment that comes after you overcome a challenge, which is the thing that Miyazaki has always said. It's like,
Mm.
listen, it's not about how hard the game is, it's about how you're going to feel once you overcome this challenge that we place in front of you. That right there is the point. The point is not to make your life miserable. It is to challenge you to overcome this thing. And then when you overcome it, then you're going to get it. And unfortunately, it's
Yeah.
like there's a lot of people nowadays that want a game more to chill out, which is why I think we even brought it up on the other podcast. That's why there's so many cozy games now, the whole farming games and whatnot, and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. 'Cause-
Stardew Valley is killing it.
Oh yeah.
yeah, there's
Fucking- that shit's good. You seen that category on Twitch? That game's going strong. Like,
Yeah,
it's like
so
10
it's
years
like-
old, man.
a lot of people just want to chill, and it's like that's cool. You have your chill games.
Yeah.
Elden Ring is not that.
No.
It's just that simple. And there's
Yeah.
been arguments about how it's a poor business decision that Miyazaki is making by saying like, "Oh, you have to kill Moog and Radon in order to get into the DLC." Like, what do you mean? Why would you have to do this? That's completely not
You
reasonable.
had to beat the whole game of DS3 to get into the Ring
Yeah.
City. It's
So there's a lot
better.
of-
It's more forgiving.
And a lot of people were saying before the DLC dropped, it's like, but only 30% of the player base, even though it's only 30% on Steam, because that's the only place that they can get those statistics. But
Yeah.
they were saying 30% of the player base, only 30% can even jump into the DLC. This is a terrible business decision. It's like, no, this is a perfectly reasonable business decision because this developer knows exactly what he wants to make. He's not trying to compromise this experience. Like, no,
Yeah.
you have to beat Moog, you have to beat Radon, and then once you go in, don't bitch to me about difficulty because we've set the baseline. That
Yeah.
was the baseline. Beat Moog, beat Radon, now go into the DLC and get your face smashed in. That's the baseline.
So
And the
they want to
interesting
do
thing is-
end game content without beating the
Yeah,
game
exactly.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's people that are saying like, "Oh, you're
Right.
gatekeeping the DLC," and I was like, "What the fuck is wrong with you?" It's like, no, you need to understand these developers know exactly what they want to make. Whereas so many times you have the
See-
developers that their leadership team doesn't know what type of game they're making, what audience they're aiming for.
Yeah.
From Software doesn't have that problem. They're like, no, I know exactly who I'm making this game for. It's
Yeah.
for
I've
these
seen-
fucking crazy people that have already
Exactly.
done all of this stuff. This game is for you.
Yeah.
And here you go.
exactly.
I'm handing it to you. And the thing is, everybody's like, oh, but it's not going to be as popular as it could have been. It's not going to be as appealing as it could have been. And they don't understand. That's not the fucking point. It's never
Mm.
meant to be popular. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Every other developer is making video games to be popular. It's like, oh, we want our video game to reach as many people as possible. Miyazaki's never done that. He's like, no, fuck that. I want to make games that are like this. And if they have an audience, that's cool. And if they
Yeah.
don't, they don't. Miyazaki's even said, look, we understand Elden Ring has been tremendously successful, but I don't expect my next game to be as successful. And that way I can do whatever the fuck I want. And if it's not as successful, it doesn't matter because I'm not going to be like every other company does, which is like, oh no, this is the new baseline. We've sold this much. Next game needs to sell even more. Miyazaki's not thinking like that. He's like, the next game can be a complete flop, but that way I can creatively do whatever the fuck I want. And it doesn't matter because we have a cushion of money now that we've been super successful with Elden Ring. I mean, they had a cushion of money from the success of their previous titles, to be honest, but Elden Ring, naturally, much bigger cushion.
Yeah.
Right? And his theory is this allows me to even more just do whatever the fuck I want in my next project. And if it's not successful, it's not the end of the world because I still have my Elden Ring money and I can keep going down that road until I have like 3 or 4 games that haven't been successful. And then I can be like, all right, now I'll make Elden Ring 2. But I don't think it's going to happen because the sheer creativity that they present whenever they bring their titles usually pays off because it's unique.
Dude, I
and
think
it's got
their
a
next
target audience.
I think their next game is gonna blow things out of the water, and here's why. I think we're entering into a new era of video gaming where it's a hyper specialization on a specific genre, and it's those studios that are going to
Yes.
survive. If you
Yeah.
look at the games that's been blowing it out of the water thus far, you're talking Cyberpunk. This is from the CD Projekt Red. They only make games like Cyberpunk and The Witcher. They don't fuck around with any other games. They have a couple of smaller projects that they'll sort of dip their toes into, but all of those smaller projects are based on in-game games from their main games, right? Like the Gwent thing that comes from Witcher. Gwent is a game that you can play.
Thronebreaker. And it was actually pretty good, that one.
Yeah. You know, so that, but they are fundamentally Cyberpunk and Witcher, those types of open world storytelling games. That's what they do, and they do it really well. Larian Studios with Baldur's Gate. You want turn based? You want a classic CRPG? This is all they do, right? And
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3's success didn't come out of a vacuum. It came because of Divinity Original Sin 2's success and learning from Divinity Original Sin 2, adapting that, evolving that into what Baldur's Gate 3 became. Their next game is going to be even fucking more bonkers than Baldur's Gate 3, guaranteed. From Software, this is what they do. They do Souls games. Elden Ring, I believe, because a lot of people say this, Elden Ring is probably the best game for a new person to step into a Souls game or a Souls-like game.
Yeah.
Because of the tremendous amount of difficulty sliders that you have in the game that you can activate at any given point. That was an obvious evolution From Software. Going from all of this, the Dark Soul games, and taking learnings from those games, taking what players have said about those games, maybe seeing a lot of feedback from players who got into Souls games and got completely fucked on the first boss and just couldn't get past it, and realizing, well, what if we invented tools into our game that play so organically into the game? You know, because a difficulty slider isn't organic. It's just going into the menu and going easy, hard. That's not organic. And if you think about how most games, but if you think about how most games approach difficulty sliders as well, it's not even that the fights get more difficult. It's just that the boss has less or more health.
Exactly. The boss takes more hits. You do less damage. Very rarely do you get something like Halo, where their AI will actually improve.
Yeah.
With harder difficulties. They'll take cover more. They'll actually have strategy. Yeah. I mean, on the point you were saying, another type of game that excels due to its hyper specialization, indies. How crazy is that? Do you remember 2020? 2020 was a year where a lot of AAAs pretty much failed. Like Cyberpunk is really good now, but it was in a tough state of launch. The Last of Us 2, I think, was the other big known AAA, but that was very controversial and stuff. And I can't think of many others, but games that were excelling from then were like, fuck it, like Fall Guys, Little Nightmares, Hades. In more recent years, Vampire Survivors, Halls of Torment, Death Must Die, Dead Cells, Risk of Rain 2. These are little... Sure, they don't have as much game time as, say, like a Souls game.
Yeah.
But they are hyper-specialized into very specific types of gameplay.
Yeah.
They excel at that. They're the only game in town for that, and so on and so forth. And nostalgia. My God, the fact they look like games we would have played in the 90s, big bait for a boomer like me.
Oh, yeah.
You too. So, I don't know.
I agree with you.
Think about that.
I think hyper specialization is the future, because it allows you, and when you think about games and the complexity of video games in modern era, right? You need to be so much more complex because of all of the resources out there. And what makes it brilliant is the fact that as you get more specialized, you learn about the shortcomings of your game, you adapt, you evolve, you move forward. I can't wait for the next title from Software. I can't wait. I think the next one is going to be even better than Elden Ring.
Bro, you haven't even scratched the surface with Elden Ring. You can wait.
I'm aware. I can still not wait. Wait.
Do everything in Elden Ring, and I'll tell you what, Arco, other Souls games that I think are excellent in the series. Dark Souls 3 is smaller than Elden Ring, but pound for pound, it is excellent.
1.
I like Dark Souls 1 a lot, but it does look a bit
like, I love it.
I think it's superb. Yeah.
I think it's one of the best ones.
You know what's awesome about Dark Souls 1? It's still... So I'm going to do this in Rand, because I don't know what it is in dollar. But in Rand, it's still like 600, almost 700 Rand. And it's almost never on fucking sale. And somehow people still buy it. I don't, see it on sale, at least not in South Africa. It's not that often when I see it, that I see it on sale. I managed to buy it once on sale, and I refunded it almost immediately because mouse and keyboard on that felt really bad. But it was also before I got into just
Fucking-
wait.
Ugh,
Just
you
to be fair,
refunded Dark
You got no one
Souls?
to
I
blame but
did.
yourself, mate.
You
I did.
fucking,
You got
oh
no one
my
to blame but
God.
yourself.
but I will.
fucking hate you. Oh, you're miserable.
I will be
Oh,
buying
God.
it again. I will be buying it again, and I will be playing the Souls games after Elden Ring.
I was
'Cause
going to hang up on this call, but I'm thinking of the editor. Okay, I don't
It-
want her
it-
having to
like-
deal with the sync. I
Well,
would
well,
hang up on your ass.
we're almost done. We're almost done. Let's do the final one for today, because I don't want these to go too way past 2 hours. So let's do the final conversation here. You guys have a choice. You can talk about Dawntrail. I don't know shit about Dawntrail, and I'm also not entirely sure if how much there is to say about it. Or we can quickly talk about the Assassin's Creed remakes. It's up to you guys.
Here's what we
I
can
know
say
more
real
about
quickly about.
Dawntrail.
Here's
I
what
don't
we
know
can
too
say real
much.
quickly about Dawntrail. Dawntrail's going to be fucking awesome. That's it. That's the story.
Okay, I think Dawntrail is like how Elden Ring DLC has kind of blown up Twitch and breathed a lot of life back into it. I think Dawntrail is going to do the same thing. Probably for like a month, maybe 2, because the MSQ is the main story is going to be long. I want to voice act the whole thing. I also want to voice act, the Pictomancer Viper jobs and all that. And a lot of streamers, well, me at least, are not going to start the main story till weeks after it's already out. Because if you're a YouTuber, get your video out. But if you're a streamer, tons of people are going to avoid your stream because they don't want to get spoiled. They want to experience the story first before they watch you do it. But all the 14 streamers have been waiting for this for a while. Final Fantasy 14 is great on Twitch for the same reason World of Warcraft is, in that you can sit there in town and 50 of your viewers can jump into like your screen and literally just like dance or like mess about with you with emotes and all that. It's a crazy community experience. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest, but I want to get through Elden Ring DLC first. So
I've always appreciated this about the Final Fantasy 14 community. They're absolute committal to avoiding spoilers. The fact that they will absolutely not watch a streamer day one play play Final Fantasy, any new expansion, because they don't want the story to be spoiled for themselves. And that really is, again, just going off of a developer knowing what kind of game they're making and refusing to, in any way, shape, or form, sort of compromise on what they're making. Yoshi P, from the very beginning, they have kept such a fucking tight lip on, such a tight lid, actually, on the game and the story. Right? There's literally no leaks ever about what the story is going to be. It's insane. And then even if someone were to leak it, that person would get canceled by the community so fucking quickly.
Good.
You get shit for that, mate.
Yeah.
Fuck them. That's what I say. Fuck them.
No, I agree with you.
14 and Elden Ring are both interesting because they're helmed by, from what it looks like to me, 2 of the most trusted figures in the gaming community. There is immense community trust in Yoshi P and immense community trust in From Software. I can't really. I'm trying to think of other developers. There probably are. I just don't know the game.
I would say
Monster Hunter team. The Monster Hunter team.
I would say
I was going to say
seem to have a lot of
Larian Studios.
People
but Capcom's like some of their titles go one way, some of their titles go another. So I like to say specific the Monster Hunter team. They're the best.
See, I don't know anything about Monster Hunter, but I know that Yoshi P and Miyazaki, people, I trust whatever the fuck From Software is chucking out.
There's 3 developers. There's 3 developers that I want to interview before I die, and it's like Hidetaka Miyazaki, who I've already gotten to interview twice. Yoshi P, I have to interview at some point. I have to do it, and Ryozu Sugimoto, who is the guy behind Monster Hunter.
Billy, you want to go outside?
I think personally, it comes from the fact that they really respect their gamers. You compare them to some of the Western CEOs. Andrew Wilson. There's not a fucking person alive that trusts Andrew Wilson as far as they can throw him. He's for those of you that don't know, he's the CEO for EA. EA.
from EA. Yeah.
EA
Oh,
CEO.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I
Why?
don't play many of their games. But a lot of people meme on them. So,
But why do people not trust him? Because he has literally zero respect for gamers. He
And
has
then
zero respect for his community, right?
There's Strauss Zelnick, I think, who is from 2K, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. That's another scumbag. So yeah.
Yeah.
that's just the NBA games, right? I
No.
I'm a
2K.
Final Fantasy
Wait,
Andy.
is it,
Is
I'm
it-
a nerd
actually,
and
I
a
don't know if
boomer.
it's
I don't know
2K
this
or
shit.
Take Two anymore. I always get those two confused, 2K and Take Two. But it's one of those two, yeah, because they also do like don't they do the GTA stuff? I know that's Rockstar, but I think Take Two publishes it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's confusing.
It's Take-Two
Rockstar's
publishers,
kind of
but Rockstar.
fascinating.
Yeah, they're another
But
one
the
that people
memes about
trust.
how the memes about how we got this before GTA 6 are just
Yeah.
hilarious in every comment section.
But, you know,
But yeah, I don't know. Rockstar seems to have immense trust. as
Yeah,
well.
but they have immense trust because, again, they are rock solid in their speciality. They do GTA and Red Dead Redemption. That's the games that they make. And they make it better than anyone else can. No one can make an open world game the way that Rockstar can. It's just not. And I say this as a huge CD Projekt Red fanboy. Not even they nail open world the way that Rockstar does it. It's just, it's fucking insane what Rockstar does. So it's almost as if the CEOs that are the most trusted in gaming, and by this I don't mean Rockstar on greedy little bastards, they are, right? So I feel almost it's an insult to name them among Yoshi P and Miyazaki. But in terms of trust, so when that CEO tells you that this is the next game, people immediately get excited for it. It's almost as if it's all of the CEOs that run companies that are specialized. They do the one type of game, and they're not. So yes, Rockstar is greedy, but they're not greedy with they don't ever gamble the quality of their game on their greed. Right? So they won't push out a silly little game just so that they can bank on community sentiment. They make sure that the game is really good and solid. And then, yes, around that, I mean, a GTA RP has made them tons of fucking cash, right?
Yeah, but what they
What
really
if-
want is to just milk you fucking dry on that GTA Online and shark cards. Fuck
Yeah.
dude,
Hey.
give me all your money.
What if GTA 6 was turn-based? How do you think the community would react to that?
Oh.
And they're like, no, it turn-based sells. Look at Baldur's Gate 3. Look at Honkai. Imagine if they did that. My God.
man.
Because
I would-
due to the fact that I don't
I'd be
give
laughing,
two
but I don't
shits
think anyone
about
else would.
GTA. Yeah, I don't give two shits about GTA, so I would love to see it just to see the meltdowns. It would
Oh,
be
bro.
legendary, dude.
Can I just tell you?
Yeah, you know.
If you-
that would be the decision of the century.
Hey,
I'd be
I
like,
would
my
just be
God.
like,
Rurikon.
fuck
It's
you
gotta
and
be
your
good.
shark cards.
Oh
Rurikon,
my God.
Rurikon, if I can just tell you this. Playing GTA 5 for the first time, the story mode, I've not
Oh, yeah,
really
it's
done
good.
the RP. Oh my
yeah, I
fuck,
like
what a game. And
Oh,
Red
yeah,
Dead
I played-
Redemption
I
2.
played it. I
Have you
finished
played
it.
have you
And
played Red
PS2.
Dead Redemption 2?
Yes, I finished that one too. Yeah, it's
Oh
really good.
man, that game, the story
story
in
is
that
really
game
good.
is fucking insane. I want to play that again. The only thing that keeps
Did
me
you
from
play
it,
Red Dead Redemption 1 though?
no, because it's not on
You
PC.
don't know the whole story.
Yeah, but it's not on PC.
Console exclusivity strikes again, man.
If they brought it to
Yeah.
PC, I would 100% immediately play it. But the
it's a good
thing
game.
is, you can't. I'm struggling to find the way to explain what I mean. You'll take a company like EA, right? And EA will launch FIFA after FIFA after FIFA after FIFA, Madden after Madden after Madden. Same quality, same bullshit, same everything, just continuously trying to make more and more money. Then you take Rockstar. GTA 5 is how old now? It's almost a decade, more than a decade almost that game has been
it's
fucking
more than
around.
10 years now, isn't it?
Yeah, that they've been working, in that time, they've been working on GTA 6. And they won't launch GTA 6 until it's fucking ready. Right? And
I respect that, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have
We
mad
don't want it
respect for that.
unfinished, man. Like, first impressions are hard to take back.
Oh yeah.
True.
I'm
So
fine with that.
I think that's the future. Is companies that are run by CEOs that go, listen here, we can make all the money we want, right? And that's perfectly fine as long as the quality of our games are up there, right? As long as the quality of our games remain preserved. And that's
Yeah.
not something you can say for most of the Western studios out there. Just not.
Hmm.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. And the hyper specialization, as you say. I mean,
Yeah.
like Baldur's Gate 3, this is a turn-based adult game.
Yeah.
That's a lot of them on paper. That should be a bad financial decision, but
Yeah.
reality had a different opinion. You know what I mean? It made a shit ton of money and still
Dude.
does and still will. I think
Yeah.
it's one of the
That's-
games people will. It's one of the games
that's-
of the decade, man. It's fucking amazing.
That's
Sorry.
the beauty
Go on, bro.
of a leadership team having vision, because it was the same thing where you look like, okay, so 60% of the current player base of Elden Ring can't even play the DLC, even though that number is wrong because they're not taking into account consoles and all that stuff. But let's just say 60% can't even play the DLC. It is a bad financial decision to release a DLC like this. It already sold 5 million copies. Suck my dick.
Yeah.
Dude, when I see in the comments on every IGN post about Elden Ring, there's always someone saying this game would have more players if they added an easy mode. No, it wouldn't. It would
No.
have
No,
you and the
it
people who
wouldn't.
want the easy mode,
Yep.
but it would lose the original core fan
Oh yeah,
base
100%.
who basically are the reason that this series even exists.
I don't
And I'm glad that they're gatekeeping the fuck out of the difficulty. I want to fight these hard fights. I want to hate myself. If it's too hard, fuck it. We'll get
Well,
the mimic tier in.
You see what
But
I don't
until then, the
Just a minute,
jellyfish
but
magic
get
carp
another
is my
player in there.
boy,
Let's
so-
go.
I've only
Get another
I've
player
seen-
in. Yeah, you know.
I've seen
Well,
like videos of 3 people just mobbing a boss down, and I was just like, "Fuck yeah, kill that boss!"
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
But here's what I would
Yeah,
like to
no, I think it's fine.
as an
Specialization.
as an Elden Ring noob, right? I would like to add, I don't even fucking know how you would add a difficulty slider to that game, because it's not as if the bosses don't take a shit ton of damage from your normal fucking hits. Like, if you could chain together about 10 attacks, you could kill a boss literally in 10 attacks.
As a strength build, I do damage.
Not
You know what I mean?
literally in 10 attacks. Depends on the boss, Echo.
It
No,
does,
obviously,
yeah.
but remember, bosses, I'm assuming, based on everything I've played thus far, bosses will have trade-offs. So, for example, when I fought Agil took very little damage from my attacks, but most of Agil's moves are incredibly slow and also very well projected. So it's, if you're paying
like if
attention,
you fight the big boys.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
silent demon.
yeah, you can
Like, all right, okay, we
you
can work
can
with this.
dodge most of their shit pretty easily. It's not that hard. You just need to sort of stay away from them, right? So yes, then they have a much harder health pool because, you know, that's the difficulty of it. But what would a difficulty slider even do? The boss have less attacks, or like, what the fuck are you sliding on? I don't understand.
It'd be like God of War 4. You
They
do
would-
more damage and bosses have less HP. That would be
Yeah,
easy.
so it's like
I would
I
assume.
think the easy mode would be you deal more damage, boss deals less damage, boss has less health, and you also deal more poise damage so that you break the boss more often for critical attacks. That's I mean,
Oh,
you know
man.
that's what the mod did in Sekiro. It made it so that every time you would land a hit on somebody, it would put them into the break state.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so fun. That's
People-
such a
people would
game
just go
breaker.
up-
That's great.
People just go up to mobs and just
Oh,
like
that's so funny.
break mob.
Oh,
Like you
that's
go
heaps
against some
funny.
of the hardest bosses in the game, just like break, crit, break, crit. And I was
Oh
like,
my God.
what is this? What are you doing?
That's easier than using the mimic tier or Black Knife T-shirt.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
I think
yeah.
it, because it's not even as if the bosses have an AI, right? It's not AI. Everything is so clearly based on a specific string, right? The boss, if you're close to the boss, it's gonna have these types of attacks, and it's gonna do
If you're far
one
away,
attack
it's
after
gonna
the
close the distance. or
Yeah.
range.
And that's
Yeah.
that's the other thing. That's a complaint that a lot of people are saying. It's like, oh, all of these bosses are RNG bullshit. It's like, no,
No, they're
it's
not.
RNG.
No, they're not.
You
If they
can
were RNG,
you can bait the
you couldn't
attacks.
no
You
hit
can
these
yeah.
games.
Yeah, but you can actually
Fuck.
bait the attacks. The thing
Yeah.
is that you can say is I don't have the patience to learn how to bait the attacks because I don't. So when I fight it, you better believe it's fucking RNG. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's RNG
Oh, yeah.
because I'm not
No, I'm with you
skilled
on this.
enough to recognize the full pattern. But like if I was to, no, I'm gonna sit here for like 2-3 hours and deconstruct this boss. I can come up with every single pattern that a boss will do, predict when it's coming.
But it's not.
All of that it is, but it's not random.
But that
It's
feels
just
like
here it
school to
comes.
me.
Yeah,
I just want to
exactly.
run
So I don't
in
do that.
and feel like I'm in
Yeah, just
Dragon
wanna
Ball.
I'll-
And just
that
try and like
bitch.
dodge
Yeah.
and,
So-
and block things with my
Unga
face now and
bunga.
again. You know.
So I'll use. I'll
Unga
use the
bunga,
following.
I just have it. I can't help it.
I'll use the following boss as a good example of exactly how bosses are and why not even if you're just fucking randomly running around hitting the boss is it ever RNG. Tree Sentinel. Tree Sentinel, if you're close up to Tree Sentinel has about 2 different types of combos that he's going to use close up. Then he's going to jump away from you. And in the jump away, you're now medium distance away from him. He's going to lean back and he's going to thrust his spear into the ground, right? That's one of his combos. He jumps away, he thrusts his spear into the ground. After 50% HP is gone, he'll do that shield bash thing where he jumps up and he fucking bashes the shield, right? So that's another one of his combos. The second you go further than medium, he does that charge attack where he's on the horse and he charges and you have to dodge through it because he slices as he goes past you. That is literally his combos. If you're close to him, he's going to go through the exact same combos the whole time. And once he's done one of those combos, one of 2 things can happen. You can call that RNG, but I'm not sure I would even call that RNG. He's either going to hit you with the fucking horse, right? So, you know that horse thing that starts bashing you? He's either going to do that, or he's going to jump away from you and then thrust his spear into the ground. You can say that's RNG, but fuck me. That is not quite what we think when we think RNG. That's how most of the bosses, at least that I have fought thus far, have acted. That's been the
and that's how most of the bosses work in Elden Ring. The thing is, people don't really, a lot of times they don't analyze, oh, what distance am I from the boss? Am I close? Am I far away?
Yeah.
What's the HP of the boss at? Is it at 50%, 70%? What's the, once you analyze all these things, you can start to distinguish, okay, so at this point he's going to do this, at this point he's going to do that. But the thing is, like me and Seb, we're just like, no. Here's how my equation goes. First you unga, and then you bunga, and that's how you get it done. And every now and then you dodge.
My equation is if I spam Lion's Claw with the giant crusher hammer enough times, the boss's poise is going to break, and then I can crit. That's the only equation that goes to my head. And hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, all right? It worked on every boss.
I hit him with my bonk stick enough times. If I hit him enough times with the bonk stick, I create brain damage, which gives me opening. Yes.
Exactly. And look, as someone who plays, if anyone finds Souls too hard, try play fighting games, especially try play Tekken.
Oh, man.
Because as someone who's grown up with Tekken my entire life, I was intimidated by this idea of Souls. When I played Dark Souls 3 for the first time, I was like, oh, this is like Tekken, but I just have way more time to react. Oh, this is fun. You know what I mean? Tekken, fighting games are that's true RNG, Arco.
Yeah.
Because for a game where each character has 200 moves, and these people just like, if you have not put in like 50 to 100 hours of practice, even practice just learning how to backdash, it feels like you're fighting an agent in the Matrix. You know the part when Neo pulls out his guns and just like, bang, 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 and the agent's just like, and just knows where all the bullets are going to go.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like fighting people in Tekken, if you're a noob. So I don't know. Souls doesn't feel too hard to me in that regard. Obviously, some things are different.
I think
stamina bar and so on and so forth.
The thing about Souls,
all the way.
The difficulty about Souls is if you're not paying attention, you get fucked quick. It happens to me sometimes where you don't pay attention to your stamina bar. And then suddenly you're out of fucking stamina, you can't hit, and you can't dodge, and now you're fucked, right? Because now it hits you with like some big attack. But as long as you pay attention and you're sort of aware of what you're doing, and you're aware of your movement, you're aware of your positioning to the mob. And specifically what I love, I told you this last week, Rurikon. The thing I love about Dark Souls or Elden Ring that I also love about Dragon's Dogma is the intuitiveness of the game. if you look at Tree Sentinel, for example, giant ass fucking shield on one side, spear on the other. Where are you going to hit? Well, obviously, if you hit on the shield side, you're not doing fucking damage because you're hitting a shield, right? It's obvious. You don't even have to read anything about Tree Sentinel. You just look at him and you go, I should probably try and stay on his left side.
You actually can hit him in the shield. It's fine.
I do less damage on the shield.
You do?
Yeah.
Maybe you do. I never paid too much attention to that, to be honest. I'm just, like I said,
No, you do. You do. Yeah, it does do damage, but it does less.
Here, Arco. You're like breaking down you're breaking down positionals. There's only one positional for us Ungabungas. It's the boss. Whether it's backside or front, that's the thing we hit.
I found the best place to fuck him up is on the back. Okay. So I slide
on that note.
Through, yeah. Go.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean
fuck him up on the back. On that note, yes, please elaborate.
Well, what I wanted to say is one thing that I think is genius about Souls, and I think a large reason why it's so incredibly successful is because on one hand, it has everything that's good about modern games, the quality of life. You're not getting game over because you ran out of continues. You know what I mean? Yeah. You didn't die against the boss because the time ran out. Another horse shit we grew up with it in the 90s. Yes. So you got quality of life, you got modern graphics, modern mechanics, and responsiveness. At the same time, it still has that fun and mystery and adrenaline and excitement you felt from gaming in the 90s. Yeah. This is all new. It's all fresh. You don't know what anything is or how it works. You just pick a direction, you go in it, and what's that? Oh shit, he's throwing me through a coffee table. All right, okay, I'm dead. Yeah. Let's try fighting him again. Okay, you know what I mean? Like Souls has what I think is the best of old games with the best of new at the same time. True. It's an incredibly hard balance to pull off, as you can see from every other company that tries to copy the formula. Yeah. But it's crazy to me that all you really have when it comes down to it is block, dodge, and attack. Fundamentally, that is Souls gameplay in a nutshell. You got other things on top of that, but that really is
you could beat the entire game
system
just with that,
in which you can have infinite variation around. And it's just, I don't know. I think it's a special series, man.
Yeah, it's a very cool awesome series. But okay, so on that note, I think it is time for us to say goodbye. We have.
Oh, it's just getting warmed up.
Yeah,
that's true. We've been going for a while. So
2.5 hours. I want to keep these, sort of at the 2 hour mark, just because it's a shit ton to edit if you go over 2 hours. I'm sure there will be episodes where we'll go over 2 hours, like now, 2.5 hours. But it was super fun. We didn't get to most of the topics that we wanted to get to, but we did invent a whole bunch of new topics. Well,
we had no topics, and we went through one of the topics we did.
True, actually.
Remember when I said we don't need a plan? We're streamers. We yap for 12 hours straight for a living. We'll be fine. Yeah. We'll be fine.
We ended up spending.
I'm running out of shit to say, man.
Just to be fair, we ended up spending an hour and 40 minutes talking about something that wasn't on the plan. Like, we didn't plan on talking about it. We just went into it.
We talked about VR and FF16. These were not on the game plan at all.
Yeah,
they're interesting.
I get it done.
But this is what I love. This is what I love. This is what I wanted to make with this podcast, was just a bunch of dudes hanging out, having fun, talking about video games. So if you guys enjoyed it, please hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, or else I'll come to your house and kick you in the balls. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, from myself, Rurikon, and Sebi, be good to each other, be kind to each other, and we'll see all of you in the next one. Peace.
Take care.